The Yamen said to use the shells as fodder, and in the end, use the money earned to print some comic books for the kids in the county. The waiter also knew Xiang. She was the adopted sister of County Deputy Wang. Who dared not to remember her clearly? If Xiang had come forward just now, he wouldn't have to take that picture. Yes, I'm Wood. Sister said that you are always so straightforward when you introduce the dishes. Don't you know how to turn around more? She asked for a tip. Xiang didn't care about other things, but the issue of how to address people was a big problem. Yes, Wood. I'll change my name tomorrow. Sister Xiang, how many river snails and toads did you send this time? How could the waiter argue with the customer? He would do whatever the customer said. I don't know. You go and weigh them. Remember to pour away the water. Don't touch the toads. They are for my sister. Xiang was happy. There isn't much water. Sister Xiang doesn't deliberately add water. I'll go and weigh them now. Also, keep the toads so that they won't suffocate to death tomorrow. Okay. The waiter continued. Okay, grandpas. Try the river snails. They are even thickened with starch. In fact, the most delicious place is not the Fengwu Pavilion but my brother and sister. But they are too busy to cook. Xiang scooped a little river snails into each of the three old men's plates with a spoon. Was there a need to say? Of course, the three old men knew who made the most delicious food. They signaled the waiter to get back to work and stretched out their chopsticks to taste the restaurant's dishes. Halfway through the meal, Zhang Xiaobao, Wang Wan, and He Yiwei arrived. As soon as he saw Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao, He Yiwei immediately recognized them. He had been to the capital before and knew who these two people were. He didn't expect that they would come to the county together today. Even though he knew that these two people were no longer in their original positions, he didn't dare to neglect them. Just as he was hesitating on how to speak, Zhang Xiaobao spoke first. Hello, Grandpa Bai, Grandpa Yao, Grandpa Zhang. Why are you here? I missed you so much. You didn't even say hello when you came. If it wasn't for the county's intelligence work being good, we wouldn't have gotten any news. Wang Wan also came forward and hugged Old Man Pai's arm. Grandpa Bai, are you used to the food? Why don't Xiaobao and I make steamed toads for you right away? Okay, seeing you two little guys, anything is good. Don't worry. I was afraid of disturbing your rest, so I stayed at Fengwu Pavilion for a night. I didn't expect that this courtyard would be so difficult to enter. I had to use Cuckoo's drawing. Like Grandpa, see, did you lose weight? Oh, Xiaobei told me to tell my brothers and sisters to quickly finish the county's work. They are coming. If anyone is in the way, tie them up and gag them. Tell Grandpa. Is there anyone in the way? Is the county still fun? When it's done, tell me what rank of official you want. Why don't you bring Lu Xi and Weiwei, and the others to be provincial governors somewhere? Old Man Pai's mood suddenly became very good. As he talked to Wang Wan, he looked at He Yiwei. He also knew what was going on with He Yiwei. He Yiwei was frightened and his heart was not calm. He had worked hard for many years, but he was still a 7th rank official. The other person's position depended on his mood. He could suddenly become a 4th rank official from a 9th rank official, which was the worst provincial governor in Xia province. The 5th rank hurdle that many people couldn't cross in their lifetime didn't exist for the other person. Wang Wan also looked at He Yiwei and said, Grandpa Bai, everything is good. The main thing is that county magistrate, he is wholeheartedly devoted to the people. He is very supportive of Xiaobao and my work. He is also outside the yamen to personally explain things in the yamen to the people. He is also working in the fields. It can be said that he is leading the troops. With Lord He around, everything in the county is stable. Oh, county magistrate, he is indeed hardworking and meritorious. I am very grateful to County Magistrate He for taking care of Xiaobao and Cuckoo. Old Man Pai saw Wang Wan praising He Yiwei and knew that He Yiwei had been taught a lesson before. It should be that He Yiwei was smart enough. Otherwise, he would have been taken down by Xiaobao and Cuckoo. He Yiwei was very touched. Cuckoo was indeed a good person. He quickly replied carefully, Lord Bai, you are wrong. I am only able to do things because of the help of Deputy Wang and Registrar Zhang. I have benefited a lot from working with Deputy Wang and Registrar Zhang. I still need to learn more. Yes, it is right to learn more. Don't be arrogant just because you are doing something in the county. If you can learn a little bit of Cuckoo and Xiaobao's skills, you will benefit a lot in life. Old Man Pai didn't hold back with He-Wei. Yes, Lord Bai is right. He-Wei said sincerely. Sister Xiang is here too. Luo Xiang couldn't help but shout. I saw it. Xiang has become prettier again. I heard from the waiter that Xiang also brought a toad for sister. Can I ask Brother Xiaobao to make braised toads for you tomorrow? Wang Wan ran to Xiang side and hugged her. Xiang face was full of smiles. Okay, make a few more toads. I will bring them back for mother. She has recovered and needs to be nursed back to health. She didn't even want to eat the braised pork that Brother Xiaobao made for her last time. Since Wang Wan was chatting with Xiang, Zhang Xiaobao had to chat with the three old men. He-Wei also sat down with half of his butt on the chair and listened to his subordinates, Deputy Wang and Registrar Zhang, talking to the three old men. As he listened and watched, He-Wei finally understood to what extent the two children were spoiled. The former Minister of Revenue and former Prime Minister, as long as they spoke to the two children, they would definitely smile from ear to ear. The impression they gave was that the two children had thrown a stone from upstairs and hit an innocent person. It was also the kind of person who was careless and would easily be caught if he tried to defend himself. There were two rules. The first rule was that no matter what the two kids did, they were always right. The second rule, if there was a different opinion, they should refer to the first rule. Everyone gathered together and didn't want to sleep anymore. They chatted until the next morning. They washed up and ate breakfast. When they were about to go to the government office, He-Wei's housekeeper hurried in. He looked at the people in the room carefully and said, Master, the price of silver has risen again. It has risen by 10%. But just as it rose, someone said that they were selling silver ores and transported them from other places. They put them in piles and asked people to buy them. Oh, there is such a thing. How do they buy them? He-Wei asked loudly so that others could hear. Master, I went to ask. They said that a pile of silver ores could be worth more or less. They are selling it through bidding. The highest bidder gets it. The small ones don't know how to look at the ores. The ones inside are blocked and don't dare to buy. I heard that there will be gold ores in the future. The housekeeper told them what he saw and heard. He-Wei didn't know why someone would do this. He had to look at Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao. Old Man Pai and the other two also didn't know the specific situation. They wanted to know what Xiaobao and Cuckoo would say. Xiaobao, could it be that the price rose because of the silver ores? Wang Wan asked. Zhang Xiaobao tapped his face with his hand. They really didn't know how to treat bean buns as dry rations. Are you sure it's Japan? Old Man Yao asked. Shaking his head, Zhang Xiaobao replied, I'm not sure, but the possibility is very high. From their methods, it can be seen that they don't want to fight a large-scale economic war or currency war. They just want to cultivate a more reasonable hotbed to sell the silver ore, which is the environment. They don't want to fight? Then why did they go to Xinyuan Island to organize people to cause trouble? Old Man Pai asked in disbelief. I'm not sure, just a guess. Only they have the motive and strength to do so. They need food and population. They're not in a hurry, and no one can cause trouble. I feel that they're affecting me now. I haven't finished the development of Buixin County yet, but they came. Zhang Xiaobao was actually very sure that the Japanese were behind it, and they knew what they wanted to do. He thought that he could find Xiaobei and the others in a few days, but it was likely that he would be delayed again. Old Man Pai and the other two looked at each other and realized that they had nothing to do with it. With Xiaobao and Cuckoo around, whoever caused trouble would be unlucky. Just wait and see. The group left the Fengwu Pavilion and returned to the Yamen. He-Wei quickly asked someone to put up today's chart. He stood outside and began to tell the people how much money the Yamen had and what it was going to do. The Yamen had more money now. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan confirmed the model projects in various places, and the money that should be given to the Yamen had been directly transferred to the Yamen's account. He-Wei finished the story that was supposed to take 4 hours. He-Wei finished it in an hour. He did not insert any words of encouragement, nor did he tell any stories. He only said a few words about the future. He then hurried to the room where Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were staying. The people didn't have enough fun today. As long as you know that sister is helping Xiao Bao get more silver for our dynasty, it will be fine. Can you get it? Xiang was looking forward to it. Yes, first get some taxes. If they say that the silver ores are currency, then sister will directly seize them. If they say that the silver ores are goods, then they must pay taxes. There is no fixed tax. Sister will give them 10% of the tax and charge them 10% of the 100 strings of coins in the transaction. This is where your brother Xiao Bao is sinister. Wang Wan smiled and rubbed her face against Xiang Er's. Xiang looked at Zhang Xiaobao in confusion. No matter what, she could not see the sinister look on Zhang Xiaobao's face. Because the people in the Four Seas Academy were mixed. Not all of them were students who specialized in literature. More foreigners went there to learn technology. There were also people from the Tang dynasty who mixed in there. Compared to the students of other academies, they were more extroverted and were less affected by the rules of the secular world. At this time, someone stood in front of a large pile of silver ores and said to the crowd, "The price of silver is getting higher and higher, but the price of silver ores is cheap. Why don't we buy them and refine them? The starting price of the pile behind me is only 200 strings of coins. Can that pile of silver ores be refined for 200 taels?" Zhang Xiaobao turned his head and asked a craftsman that the Yamen had once rewarded. Chapter 679. Zhang Xiaobao indeed did not know anything about smelting. He looked at the mountain-like pile of ores and looked left and right. He then approached Wang Wan and moved his lips. "How much do you think Japan produces in a year?" "How would I know?" "Why?" Wang Wan's lips also moved. According to the current situation, the other party can at least refine 3,000 taels of ores in one go. Isn't that a bit too much? Zhang Xiaobao asked again. They probably think it's too little. Silver ores are not silver. Refining them requires a lot of supplementary materials. Even if it's 3,000 taels worth of ores and you buy it for 2,000 taels, the final cost is estimated to be 2,500 to 600 taels. After refining all of it, it's already not bad to make 400 taels. This is not even taking into account the manpower used. Wang Wan had inquired about the annual production of gold and silver in Tang Dynasty. It was not much, especially gold. It was so little that it was negligible. Zhang Xiaobao and Wei Wei nodded. "I understand. Buy it all and prepare for the new currency." After speaking, Zhang Xiaobao returned to the front. Seeing that everyone was watching, he said, "I'll take the 200 strings of coins." Zhang Xiaobao gave a base price. When the hesitating merchants saw that Registrar Zhang had made a bid, they all gave up on buying the pile of silver ores. The people from the Four Seas Academy were stunned. This was not what they expected. Why was there no one bidding? After shouting a few times, there was still no one bidding. The large pile of silver ores was bought by Zhang Xiaobao. He had people bring in 120 strings of coins and 400 bolts of silk. This was a rule. When trading in large quantities, there must be a certain proportion of silk. Even if the silk was worn out, it could still be used as currency. Sometimes, in order to protect this rule, the imperial court would specially collect worn-out silk when collecting taxes. Usually Zhang Xiaobao did not like to do this. He would use copper coins if he could. Today he could not let others take advantage of him. Thus he had people prepare the silk. One bolt was equivalent to 200 taels. After this transaction, Wang Wan stood up again. According to the county's temporary tax rate, 1 out of 10, 60% for money and 40% for silk, tax will be collected. Some of the officials with sharp brushes brought bailiffs over to check the money, and took out 12 copper coins and 40 bolts of silk from the Four Seas Academy's treasury. It didn't look like anything special, but the 400 bolts of silk were all taken from the Yamen storehouse. Zhang Xiaobao had exchanged them with copper coins. With a single transaction, 60 bolts of silk became money. Silk took up a lot of space, and it was also damaged and oxidized quickly, so it couldn't be compared to copper coins. Under this type of situation, the Four Seas Academy's people renewed the Yamen silk by 15%. The people of the Four Seas Academy were not fools. Otherwise, wouldn't they have wasted their few years of study? After a quick calculation, he realized that he was making a loss. Not only did he have to pay for the transportation, but he also had to pay for the maintenance of the silk. Moreover, the price was too low. A Japanese man and a Tang man who had come first got together to discuss. Brother Yamamoto, I told you. Since we already found out how we lost, who we lost to, and know about this person's past, we should change places. Zhang Xiaobao isn't someone people like us can deal with. What about now? We lost again, and we lost quite a lot of money from the first batch. After the Tang man lost a few days ago, he asked around and finally found out who made him lose nearly 6,000 strings of coins. Registrar Zhang, this batch is roughly the same. Wei Wei nodded. Zhang Xiaobao opened his mouth again. 300 strings of coins, 350 strings of coins. It was unknown whether the man on the horse didn't know how much this batch of coins was, or whether he was competing, so he raised the price again. This time Zhang Xiaobao didn't say anything. The people from the Four Seas Academy said, 350 strings of coins. Is there anyone who wants to increase the price? 350 strings of coins, according to the current price, we should still be able to make a profit. Even if we don't expect to make a profit, we still have to fight for our dignity. Could it be that the nobles of Baoxin County want this transaction to fall into the hands of others? These words were indeed effective. Immediately, there was a local who wanted to increase the price. Before that, he glanced at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao felt that someone was staring at him. He turned his head and saw that the other party wanted to increase the price. That meant that he wanted to do something for the county's reputation. Zhang Xiaobao stared at that person with all his strength. That person immediately became obedient and dispelled the thought of competing. The people from the Four Seas Academy said a few more words. Seeing that no one was bidding anymore, they could only announce that the person on the horse would buy the second batch of silver ores. Wang Wan let the brush official go over to collect the tax. Seeing that the other party actually took all the copper coins, she was happy. She made a profit and continued to bid higher. At this time, the person on the horse spoke up to stop her. Wait, I don't pay the tax when I buy. Why? Wang Wan raised her head and asked. Because I am Wan Qijuan. What do you think? The person on the horse didn't look at Wang Wan and raised his head to look at the sky. At the same time, the onlookers were surprised and began to carefully size up the person on the horse. Wan Qijuan, they actually saw him today. They heard that he was protecting the emperor. No wonder he was so arrogant. Wang Wan didn't care who he was. What do you think? Not to mention Wan Qijuan, even if you are from the Jinwu guards, you still have to pay the tax today. Besides, the one paying the tax is not you, but the seller. The person on the horse was stunned by Wang Wan's words. He carefully looked at Wang Wan and asked, Little girl, who are you? But what kind of existence is Wan Qijuan? Is Wan Qijuan very powerful? Can they defeat the Tubo Iron Cavalry on the battlefield? You don't even know who I am, yet you dare to speak so arrogantly. Go and ask the leader of Wan Qijuan, Gu Fushun, if he dares to speak to this general like this. Where are the logistics camps of left and right-wing prefectures? Capture this person for this general. Here. Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao's personal guard shouted and moved. This time, the two brought dozens of people who followed Wang Wan to the battlefield. When they heard Wang Wan's order, they were very excited. The general finally gave an order. How long has it been since I heard Cuckoo call herself a general? Someone directly pounced forward and threw the person on the horse off the horse. The movement of the person who pounced was very skilled. When the person fell, the person on the horse was at the bottom. It seems that he had done this kind of thing many times on the battlefield. The others surrounded the person and punched and kicked him. In the end, they tied the person with the belt on the person's body and escorted him to Wang Wan. The person at the front half knelt in front of Wang Wan and cupped his fist and said, This subordinate returns the order. Wang Wan raised her small face and walked in front of the person who was beaten black and blue. She put her hands on her waist and said, Now do you know who this general is? You still don't want to compensate for showing off your military power in front of me. This person didn't immediately reply to Wang Wan's words. Instead, he turned his head and stared at the people from the Four Seas Academy. His gaze contained anger, grievance, and a kind of anger of being deceived. How could he not know what the logistics camp of left-wing prefecture was? Although it was gone now, its prestige was still there. When he came, why didn't anyone tell him who was in charge of the county? What bullshit county magistrate? No wonder there were two children here. It was Xiaobao and Cuckoo. Why didn't they tell him? They let him use his status as a writer to suppress others. Now he met someone who was even more ruthless. That was a demoness, an existence who engraved words in blood, and whose smile could steal lives. It was over. Just now she asked if he dared or not. Was she going to fight? Did she laugh? She didn't laugh. Fortunately, he had to think of a way to escape and go back to General Ge to complain. The people from the Four Seas Academy all lowered their heads. They understood that the rumor was true. That county magistrate was indeed in existence who could suppress thousands of soldiers by himself. Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao were very helpless. How was this still their own bodyguard? Who exactly did they listen to? They didn't even say anything and they just rushed out. It seemed that they were very happy. Collect the tax for me. Who told you to stop just now? I will deal with you when we go back. Wang Wan ordered the officer with the brush cutter and the yamen runner to check the money again. The officer with the brush cutter and the yamen runner's legs were trembling. Usually Cuckoo, the county magistrate, was very gentle. Why was she so different today? This time no one dared to say anything to stop her. The faces of the people who saw this in Buxin County all turned red because of excitement. Wan Qijun's people were arrested just like that. They didn't give him any face at all. Impressive. The county magistrate who was always smiling was actually so impressive. Good, very good. Let's see who still dares to find trouble in the county in the future. I am asking you a question. Are you going to accept it or not? Sir Wan Qijun Wang Wan turned back and continued to make things difficult for the arrested people. When the arrested people of Wan Qijun saw Wang Wan's sullen face, they felt lucky that she didn't laugh. She really didn't laugh. That was good. She really treated her own people differently. It seemed that she didn't want to kill them. There was a saying in the army that one would rather hear the howls of 100 ghosts than see Cuckoo laugh. The ghosts could still think of ways to suppress them, but Cuckoo's laughter was over. With a plop sound, the people of Wan Qijun struggled to break free from the force of others and knelt on the ground. I won't stop you anymore. I know I was wrong. General, please spare my life. Why are the people of Wan Qijun so soft? Give them 10 strokes of the rod and drive them away. Later, I will write a letter to ask how Gu Fushun managed the army. You guys can continue to sell. Chapter 680. Wan Qijun's people were taken away to be beaten with sticks. The people from the Four Seas Academy were so scared that they didn't dare to move. Sell quickly, don't waste time. Wang Wan shouted. Sell, sell. The commoners also shouted. They were proud of being a member of the county. The emperor had indeed sent the most powerful people to Buxin County. Other counties didn't have them, only this county had them. No one dared to show off in the county, not even Wan Qijun's people. The people from the Four Seas Academy were afraid, but they didn't dare to disobey. In the end, Feng Tung from Tang Dynasty stood up and said, sell. There are a total of 10 piles today. All of them must be sold. The third pile, the starting price is 260 strings of coins. Is there anyone who wants to increase the price? I'll take 260 strings of coins. Zhang Xiaobao knew that the pile was only 270 or so taels of silver. The other party knew that they couldn't wait for others to add the money bit by bit, so they directly offered a high price and bought it. As soon as Zhang Xiaobao spoke, the others stopped moving. The third pile was sold, followed by the fourth, fifth, and so on. As long as the price estimated by the craftsman was above the asking price, Zhang Xiaobao would buy them all. There were a total of 10 piles, some more and some less. Adding them together, it was estimated that they could be refined into 3,000 taels of silver. Zhang Xiaobao paid 2,700 taels of silver, and the yamen also collected 270 taels of silver as tax. A lot of silk was also transferred out. The people from the Four Seas Academy didn't make much money. The transportation fee and tax paid offset the normal price. Although Japanese silver wasn't expensive, and they had lost a lot in the beginning, they didn't even make back their capital. Just as they were preparing to leave dejectedly, Zhang Xiaobao said to them, my family still wants to buy more ores. As long as you send them over, we can give you 800 strings of coins or goods at the price of Tang Dynasty's 1,000 taels of silver. We'll take as much as you have. What about the technology? Yamamoto asked boldly. This is not under this official's control. You can think of a way yourself. The wine and dishes at the Fengwu Pavilion are pretty good. Why don't this official treat you to a meal to celebrate the deal? Zhang Xiaobao didn't accept the matter of selling the technology and invited everyone to the Fengwu Pavilion to eat. The people from the Four Seas Academy still had matters to discuss, so they tactfully declined and hurriedly left. Zhang Xiaobao did not urge them to stay. Seeing the people from the Four Seas Academy leave, he waved his hand at the surrounding people. The surrounding people immediately responded with happy shouts. Registrar Zhang, should we find a place to store these silver ores? He Iwei came over and asked. He was also very happy. The Yamen had received another 270 strings of cash, which he could use to realize his plan. Yes, isn't there a place in the county where there is no one around? Get someone to bring them over there and prepare to refine silver, Zhang Xiaobao replied. At this time, Old Man Pai was also talking to Wang Wan. Cuckoo, why don't I give all my subordinates to you? They will listen to you. Once you give the order, they won't even look at me and will rush to the front. I can't do anything about it. Does Grandpa Bai think that they are disloyal? Then kill them all so that they won't listen to other people and not listen to the master. I will kill some people later. Grandpa Bai, you, Grandpa Yao and Grandpa Zhang can always command my people. They can't be left alive. Wang Wan immediately gave an idea with an indignant look. Don't kill them. Your people listen to us because you and Xiaobao are good to us. Sai, you brat, you made a whole set for me to drill. Forget it, we are good to you. I won't deal with them. They are so cunning they don't want to suffer any losses. I am praising you for your ability to lead the army. You beat up the people of the 10,000 cavalry army. Aren't you afraid that their leader will find trouble with you? He is a close official. You have to be careful not to let others find your weakness. Old Man Pai didn't care whether his subordinates listened to Wang Wan or not. He mainly wanted to remind Wang Wan. Wang Wan didn't care at all. She said to Old Man Pai, Gu Fushen is a close official, but he is an adult and I am a child. The people of the 10,000 cavalry army didn't stay in their own territory and came to my place to conspire with others to harm the interests of the county. Does it mean that I have to be bullied by the people who have been in charge of the army for many years? If that's the case, I shouldn't have handed over the military power so quickly. Only with soldiers can the imperial court value them. If they bully people without soldiers, the imperial court won't dare to interfere and will have to side with them. Otherwise, it will easily cause a mutiny. It's good to have soldiers. Even the imperial court is afraid of them. The Xuanwu Gate is a good place, isn't it, Grandpa Bai? Old Man Pai was scared when he heard Wang Wan's words. It sounded like Wang Wan regretted handing over the military power. But in fact, she was slandering Gu Fushun. He was really worried for Gu Fushun. If he wanted to find trouble with Cuckoo, and Cuckoo directly went to the palace and said this, the emperor would listen to the grievance of the child on one hand, and hear the persecution of the adult on the other hand. Who would he believe more? At that time, the first one to be dealt with would be Gu Fushun. The child complained that you have too much respect for the army. Do you want the 10,000 cavalry army to cause trouble again? Isn't the Xuanwu Gate just right? Old Man Pai thought about the result and quickly advised, Cuckoo, you can't do that. If you attack like this, the imperial court will be in chaos. Don't worry, no one will dare to do anything to you. The emperor didn't let anyone test the poison first when he ate the food that you and Xiaobao made. You can't use this kind of trust to harm others. Wang Wan replied with a smile. This was the advantage of age and the way to advance and retreat. Why did she hand over the military power? It would be easy to deal with if she handed it over. The longer the person who held the military power, the greater the crisis. Gossip was a fearful thing and 3 people could make a tiger. She nodded, Grandpa Bai, don't worry. As long as no one comes looking for trouble, I won't care about them. However, if they really come looking for trouble, they should think about the consequences. I'm not the kind of person who won't fight back after being beaten. My family is going to raise horses in Feng province. With the new technology, horses can run on the grassland, and there's also a desert nearby. The place to train the horses' endurance is actually the desert that Xiaobao and I occupy in Tubo. There's enough water and sand there. The horses can run on it and train better. I gave Grandpa Bai a few horses to pull the carriage. There's no better place to raise horses than Feng Province, especially after I occupy the desert. You mean to say that you and Xiao Bao originally planned to go to Feng Province, and not Hebei Province or Jianan Province? You specifically looked for people to resist the cold in Yi Province just to deal with the heavy snow in Feng Province? Old Man Pai analyzed this matter from Wang Wan's words. No, I didn't say anything. I only know how to fight. What do I know? Isn't that right, Grandpa Bai? Wang Wan wasn't afraid that others would guess her and Zhang Xiaobao's initial plan. She had already given them the land, so how could she go back on her words? Besides, it was indeed difficult for others to manage there. Old Man Pai sighed. I'm old, I'm really old. How can you not know anything else when you're fighting? At least you know that there's no such thing as too much deception in war. You're indeed the person who made the entire Tubo country tremble in fear. You used a diversion well. Good. When you have horses, you must remember to give Grandpa by a few. You have horses but no soldiers. I don't want soldiers. That's a disaster. I'm not going to rebel. Raising horses is enough. In the future, when we really need cavalry, just give me a unit. As long as they aren't old, weak, or disabled soldiers, it's not too late for me to equip them with horses. After 2 months of training, I'll be able to bring people to charge and break through enemy lines. Other than raising horses, I'll also raise cows and sheep. I won't add anything else. When the time comes, I'll make milk powder for the children of Great Tang to drink. 5 years. Within 5 years, Xiao Bao and I will be able to provide 100,000 horses for Great Tang. How about this, Grandpa Bai? You can discuss with your friends and have their families raise more cavalry. If there's really a need to fight, you can call up the cavalry from their families and form a large unit. Then you can give me command. I'll lead them to London in one breath. Yes, we'll have to cross the sea. Wang Wan spoke of her thoughts. The most important thing was to raise cows and sheep, and then make milk powder for the children. Where's London? Old Man Pai approved of Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao from the bottom of his heart. Although the two children were young, they knew how to act appropriately. Furthermore, they were wholeheartedly devoted to the people. Perhaps they were a little less respectful to the emperor, but they were very loyal to the people of Great Tang. After sighing inwardly, he asked about London. It means a place that's very far away. I randomly gave it a name. It's the farthest place. Grandpa Bai, you didn't sleep yesterday. Why don't you rest early and eat the toad that Xiao Bao made when you wake up? Wang Wan casually found an excuse to brush him off. Old Man Pai and the others all went to sleep. Xiang'er also found a place to sleep. He Yiwei began to think about how to use the tax that had just been collected. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan returned to their room to discuss matters. Xiaobao, you're buying coal to smelt silver ore? Wang Wan pulled Zhang Xiaobao back to the room and asked as soon as they returned. No, I'm just acting. Who uses the soot-blowing method to smelt silver ore? I've also learned a bit of smelting theory. Do you think it's so easy to be a liar in order to deceive people? The coal is used to deal with the Four Seas Academy. They took away the straw, occupied the land with trees, and transported silver ore. What do you think they want to do? Zhang Xiaobao didn't want to smelt silver now. His family didn't lack money. He would keep it and use it when the time came. When the technology developed to a certain extent, the consumption during the smelting process would be reduced. When the smelting process was taken out for others to smelt, the consumption would be reduced. Japan had a lot of silver, but it was also a non-renewable resource. If he bought more, it could be considered as a reserve. Wang Wan suddenly understood, so this is what you're talking about. They want to buy all the things that can be used to smelt silver, and then release the silver ore. They can make a profit from other aspects. The idea is not bad, but they are too unlucky. Why did they have to come to Buxing County and hit the muzzle of the gun? What other plans do you have? Tell me again. Let me hear it and make me happy. They're full of evil ideas all day long, but they're still secretly happy. Are they really going to draw a big river here? Draw? Otherwise, the river will also flow into the sea. The sea doesn't need our little water. Sometimes the river exists for transportation, and sometimes it exists for irrigation. However, the river's function is not only that, it can also be used to decorate the place. There aren't many rivers here, so if we draw a big river, we can guarantee the needs of transportation and decorations. Zhang Xiaobao was determined to draw a river through the whole county. He said to Wang Wan, when they bought the land they didn't buy barren hills but real land. They need to pay taxes. They originally hoped to use the wood to make a lot of money and sell it to the local people who bought the silver ore. At the same time, they also wanted to monopolize the local firewood market. If they transported firewood from other places, the transportation cost is too high. Ordinary people can't afford it. We will transport the coal first, put it there and not sell it. When the county needs firewood, we will take it out and sell it at a fair price. The water must be drawn quickly, and it needs to be transported by water. So that's how it is. In the end, they can't afford to pay the rent and taxes every year, so they can only sell the wood at a low price. Then you can buy the good wood at the price of firewood. Otherwise, they will lose money every year. Because no one will buy their land after transporting the coal, they have to find a way to sell it. You want to burn charcoal? But we can't buy good coal. Good coal is too expensive, and it's all used to smelt metals. The smelting technology now is not as good as back then. It'll cause a lot of wastage. It's impossible for the people to buy expensive coal. We can't give them subsidies, right? Wang Wan followed Zhang Xiaobao's train of thought and found the problem. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan in surprise and asked, "Could it be that you've been here for too long and have forgotten that there's something called honeycomb briquettes? That thing is simple to make, low to cost, and relatively high burning efficiency. Just make some honeycomb coal. The stove is also simple. It is just a piece of iron with mud inside. Rich people can buy a full iron stove. It can be used to cook, heat, and barbecue when you have nothing to do. As long as you tell them how to make it, let alone adults, even children can make it. We can teach others how to make it. When the time comes, we can transport the coal and let them do it themselves. We don't earn money and the technology is too low. Others can learn it quickly. Oh yes, there is also honeycomb coal. This is more economical than the coal that is mined. Huaiyuan County is too far away. Otherwise, it would be more cost-effective to transport the coal from there." It was true that Wang Wan had never used honeycomb briquettes before, but she had seen them before. A stove with a few honeycomb briquettes would not have a bad smell if they did not add too many things to save money. They were very good for heating and cooking. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were discussing what to do next, He Yiwei started his new plan again. This time he wanted to make something that didn't exist in other places. That was to raise tortoises. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan specifically mentioned that tortoises were good things. The dishes they made were very nutritious, but many times they were difficult to catch. There were some in the river. Except for the small ones, it was very dangerous for children to catch the big ones. It was easy to be bitten. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had a big fish tank in the yard. In addition to raising fish, there were also a few tortoises in the separated area. The water was not deep, and the tortoises could be seen looking around all day. This made him think. He wanted to learn from Zhang Xiaobao and the Wang family to develop the local industry. Therefore, he took out 20 strings of money and asked people to catch the tortoises. There was a small piece of land in the county. He asked people to dig holes and wait for water to be filled so that he could raise the tortoises. He Yiwei personally took care of this matter. The place he chose was not far from the county. It could be reached in an hour. It took less than 4 hours to go and come back, including observation. He spent the money and collected the tortoises. He asked people what the tortoises usually ate and asked people to send them to the place outside the county. He was going to take a look today. He heard that 2 tortoises crawled over by themselves, which made him happy and worried. He was happy because this place could attract tortoises. Of course, he didn't know that it was very coincidental and thought that it should be so. He was worried that the tortoises wouldn't want to stay and would crawl out by themselves. Sitting in the car, he asked the housekeeper, "What do you think can make the tortoises outside come in by themselves, and the tortoises here can't run away?" "Master, it doesn't matter how many tortoises come in from outside, right? You want to raise tortoises, not seduce them. You just need to put something outside, dig a ditch, set up a net, and bury the bottom." The housekeeper felt that the master had thought wrongly and didn't grasp the key point, so he reminded him. He Yiwei also realized that he had thought wrongly. He smiled and said, yes, it's raising, not seducing. Pay attention to what you say next time." "What do you mean by seducing?" Sounds bad. What else do you need? The housekeeper didn't know this time. He had never raised a tortoise, but he had eaten it before. Someone caught it and sent it to the restaurant. At that time he ate it well. He drank a little bit of the tortoise's blood and ate the meat. Even the tortoise's shell was roasted with tiles and eaten with water. Hearing the master's question, he couldn't not answer, so he said, "Master, shouldn't we take out another reward for people who know how to raise tortoises? There are people who specialize in raising tortoises. Why haven't I heard of it?" Yue thought about it and found that usually no one mentioned who raised tortoises well, but people who raised chickens and ducks knew. Just as the two of them were talking, the sound of a horse's hooves came from outside. After a while, the sound followed beside the car, and a woman's voice was heard. "Stop, let me in. You don't know how to spend the money you have. It's fine if you torment yourself, but you even implicate others. Hurry up, let me in the car." Yue and the housekeeper were stunned. It seemed that she wanted to get in the car they were in. A woman? She wanted to get in the car? Who was it? The car stopped and the door opened. The two of them saw a woman get in the car and sit directly opposite them. As soon as the woman came in, her eyes stared at Yue. She seemed to be very dissatisfied but also seemed to have a strong complaint. Her eyes were not good. Yue's eyes were blinded by the light when the car door opened. When he recovered, he was shocked and leaned back with all his might, afraid that he would be too close to the other party. He said in a trembling voice, "Miss Cherry, what are you doing? I haven't done anything to you. Don't you want to get out of the car first? What else do you want to do to me? Haven't you done enough? I have never seen someone like you. You have to be responsible. You have a good life, why do you want to do this?" Cherries asked angrily. Her overbearing look made people feel that this matter was not going to be easy to deal with. After hearing Cherries' words, Yue was dumbfounded. He said with a crying face, "Miss Cherries, don't talk nonsense. Yes, I am a womanizer. I don't have many concubines at home. You are also beautiful, but I have never dared to have any ideas about you. I even want to kill you. You are the person around Registrar Zhang and Deputy Wang. How dare I do anything to you? If you really admire me, why don't we go to Registrar Zhang and Deputy Wang first? If they agree, I will give you a good position." "Bah, I have seen shameless people, but I have never seen someone as shameless as you. I admire you? Do you know how many subordinates I have? Xiao Hong and I are together. Even if there are thousands of soldiers and horses, we dare to fight. Who do you think you are?" Cherries was furious. She did not know why Yue thought of her admiring him. What a joke. With her family background, he could not afford to marry her. It seemed that he wanted her to be his concubine. She really should have brought Xiao Hong and her army here and let Rongrong bite him to death. After being scolded, Yue was relieved. As long as Cherries did not find him, it was fine. They were indeed not a good match. This Cherries was not only capable, but also had a good literary talent. It was not easy for ordinary people to find her as a concubine. So he asked carefully, "Since that is not the case, what do you want to do here, Miss Cherries? What else can I do?" "Of course, I want to accompany you to raise the tortoise. Why did you think of this?" After the young master and young lady heard about it, they said that you can't raise it well. It is fine to spend money for nothing, but they are afraid that you will make a mistake and disappoint the people. Now is a special time. What you do must be successful to cultivate the people's confidence. Let me ask you, do you know how the tortoise came out? Where did it come out? How much temperature does it need? Do you think that if you catch a group of tortoises and put them there will be a lot of tortoises in the future? Look at the place you chose. It is all mud. Why don't you get some sand? And the surroundings, even the grass and whatnot, were cleaned up by you. You still want to raise the tortoise like this? It is useless even if you become a tortoise. I was sent out by the young master and young lady. They said that I will cooperate with you. Don't you think that I blame you? I was still writing the next book, but I was delayed by you." Cherries pouted and asked one question after another. Yue was confused. After a while, Yue happily asked Yingtao, "So you know all about it? Can you raise the tortoise well?" "That's great. Don't worry, Miss Cherries. As long as you help me, I will definitely repay you." "Do I need you to repay me?" I have saved a few thousand strings of coins. Now I am asking Xian heir to help me do business. In a few years I will have tens of thousands of strings of coins. How much money do you have? Let me tell you, tortoises have eggs. If you want the eggs to become little tortoises, the temperature must be high enough. I will come over and find a way to raise the temperature so that you can give birth to more little tortoises. Go to the place and take a look. Bring more sand and dead leaves. If the temperature is not high enough, add some lime or feces. Cherries was unwilling to come over. She followed the young master and young lady all day. This time, because of He Yiwei's idea, she was arranged to come here. It would be strange if she was not angry. He Yiwei felt uncomfortable. What did she mean by giving birth to more little tortoises? But he did not dare to refute. After all, Cherries' identity was there. She was in charge of breeding. She was very good. Her books were bought by others. She was better than many scholars. Thinking that she came over and did not want to have anything to do with him, he felt relieved and said, in that case, I will listen to Miss Cherries. I just want to give birth to more tortoises. The more the better. Chapter 681. The boat glowed as the 6 strings were plucked. Sitting by the shore, the boat gazed into the distance. Because Ernyo was working beside Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, Susi was arranged to transport the food stones, take a steam bath, cultivate new seeds, feed the livestock used for planting, and the swimming pool for Xiaobei and the other little guys. All of these required this thing. Susi did not forget to practice his guitar. It was not because he liked music, but because he liked a girl from the inner courtyard who played the hujia well. He felt that he was not good enough for her. What should he do? After discussing with Zhang Xiaobao gave him a guitar and said that if he played it well, he would be able to match the sound of the hujia. As for whether it was true or not, Zhang Xiaobao was not sure. Anyway, Zhang Xiaobao's out-of-tune thousands of rivers and mountains will always love was probably not good enough. Every time Wang Wan heard Zhang Xiaobao play, she would praise him. This song could be used as a killing weapon on the battlefield. At this time, Susi was sitting on a boat passing by Jizhou. When he saw the fish mountain, he missed it and stopped. Actually, it had nothing to do with the fish mountain. Even though many famous people had written here before, the main reason was that he was hungry. He rummaged through his bag and found the canned food that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family had just developed. It was only used in the inner courtyard and was not sold outside. Even the palace did not give it to Li Longji. They were afraid that Li Longji would be addicted to it and ask for it every day. The canned food in his hand was the canned food of Yangtze River swordfish. The fine scales were removed, the internal organs were removed, and even the bitter taste was removed. Susi was about to eat it and the remaining half of the jar of black bean sauce that he did not finish yesterday. He took out the guokue and was about to eat it when he smacked his lips. He wanted to drink wine, but he realized that he had finished the bottle the day before yesterday. After eating such good food, he would feel sorry for the Yangtze River swordfish if he did not drink some wine. Susi started to look at the shore. There was a wine shop on the north shore that also sold tea. Okay, that's it. Boatman, come to the north shore. I will go up and eat something. If you are hungry, you can eat too. After you eat, I will pay for you. Sir, you can't go over like this. People are still sailing on the north shore. If you head over head, you will be looking for a quarrel. The boatman said worriedly. You are stupid. You just go forward and turn your head. This was a simple problem for Susi. And the boatman. When the boatman heard this, he continued to move forward. Taking advantage of the fact that there were no other boats passing by, he swerved his oar and slowly moved to the shore. There really were other boats docked here. On the shore, there were already stakes for the boats to anchor. The boatman first set up a gangplank and let Susi go up. Only then did he anchor the boat. He also called his wife and children on the boat to eat together. Today's meal was being treated, so at least half a chicken would be eaten. The wife and children were very happy. Half a chicken. That's more than 10 to 20 copper coins. They had met a good person. Only the men were prepared to drink a bowl of rice wine. They would be embarrassed if they drank too much. They couldn't find a good person to cheat. Otherwise, they would rather travel by land next time. Susi didn't care about this small amount of money. How much can a meal in a small wine shop cost? He was anxious to find a wine that could go with the Yangtze River swordfish. He asked the manager and the waiter, but they didn't have any wine that Susie could think of. In the end, he had to order a wine that was half a year old. The manager had promised that it was definitely not the kind of wine that was only half a month old. Susie didn't care if the manager couldn't sell it or if the wine was really buried. As long as it was drinkable, it was fine. He didn't have anything else. He would just let the Yangtze River swordfish out of the can later. He didn't forget to shout to the manager and the waiter, "Don't put ginger in it and don't put anything else. It must be the best. I will give you as much as you want." Ever since Susie followed the new owner, he didn't like to drink anything else. He didn't even put sugar in his soy milk. The waiter immediately replied, "Okay, a bowl of half-a-year-old wine. Don't put wine in the water. Just serve the wine directly." The second half of the sentence was shouted to the kitchen behind. It was estimated that there were people in the kitchen who were busy cooking and mixing wine. It sounded scary. Soon the wine was served. Susie smelled it. Not bad, there was no water. No, there was no wine in the water. It was very pure. He looked at the 6 empty wine bowls on the table next to him. He was looking for a place to relieve himself. He finally understood why his alcohol tolerance was so high. Susie tasted the wine and frowned. He was satisfied. At least it was real wine. Although the taste was not as good as the ones he drank at home, no one at home ate canned food. There was a good chef who cooked for them, who would eat canned food when they were out. They were afraid that people like him who lived in the inner courtyard wouldn't be able to get used to the food outside between the clouds and the water. It was all his fault for being greedy. He drank all the wine he brought in advance. He had to make do with it. How could this wine be paired with the Yangtze River swordfish? When he was about to take the can, he saw the manager and waiter looking at him. He ordered, "What side dishes do you have? Give me a few." The manager and waiter nodded and happily went to take the dishes. Susie was embarrassed when he ordered the dishes. It was not good to only order a bowl of wine. He took out more than half of the jar of black bean sauce. After thinking for a while, he also took out the small bamboo tube of spicy cabbage. Finally, he took out the can of Yangtze River swordfish. Under the watchful eyes of the people eating under the shed, he opened the can. Immediately, a few people were surprised. Susie knew that these were people who had never seen canned food before. They were used to it. As a servant, he could only eat, wear, and live in the Wang and Zhang family. He could also make do with Commandery Prince Li's house. This was also the reason why some people didn't leave even though they had saved enough money to leave. Susie didn't care about the curiosity of others. He used his chopsticks to pick the can. There was a layer of jelly on the top of the can. Inside there was yellow and white meat. The yellow meat was smoked first, and the white meat was steamed directly. One was chewy and the other was tender. There were also about 10 pieces of ginger. He picked up a piece of ginger and put it in his mouth. There was the spiciness of wei wei and the fragrance of the fish. He sighed in his heart. This was the kindness of the young master and his wife. He had to repay them well. The manager and waiter also brought over 4 side dishes. The amount was not small. The 5-inch plates were filled to the brim. After placing the food on the table, he took the opportunity to look at the can. He sniffed and smiled. "Brother, where did you buy the fish? It looks good. It's not sold anywhere. It's always in the inner courtyard of Zhuangzi. It's called canned food. Course it's good. This is a kind gesture. The master is afraid that the servants who go out will not be used to the food from other places." Susie's emotions were fluctuating too much today. He thought about the girl in the inner courtyard and thought about how good the master was, so he casually replied, "Oh." The manager and waiter responded. In fact, he didn't understand what was going on. Which Zhuangzi was so considerate of the servants? He actually made canned food. He didn't believe it and turned around to add more tea for others. There was an 8.5-year-old boy in the boat that brought Susie here. When they were on the boat, Susie gave him a sweet piece of ginger called Little Bird. The family hoped that one day the child could spread his wings and fly. However, life was tough. Usually, Little Bird would help steer the boat when it was smooth sailing. After a few days of contact, He was no stranger to Susie. When he heard the manager say that Uncle Sue ate fish, he put down the chicken head in his hand and said, "Uncle Sue likes to eat fish. When we get on the boat, Little Bird will fish for Uncle Sue. Little Bird knows how to catch big fish." When Susie heard Little Bird's words, he immediately smiled. He liked children because the young master and his wife were children. He waved his hand. "Then Little Bird will treat Uncle Sue to fish later. Uncle Sue will treat Little Bird to fish now. Uncle Sue can't finish it alone." The child didn't know the preciousness of the food in the iron sheet. He put the chicken head in his mother's plate and happily jumped over. "Then Little Bird will help Uncle eat." When Little Bird ate, he finally realized that something was wrong. His family had a boat and he usually ate fish. He was tired of it, but why was the fish in the box so delicious? The bones were soft and the cold was delicious. When he put it in his mouth, it slipped into his stomach. It was cool and refreshing. "Uncle Sue, which Zhuangzi are you from? Are you really a servant?" The child was straightforward and said whatever was on his mind. "Yes, I'm a servant. I'm from Zhangzhe Zhuangzi Sanshui County. I was sent out to do some work." Susie specially picked a piece of smoked meat for Little Bird. Children generally like to eat chewy food as snacks. Of course, younger children were more willing to eat soft food. They also liked to eat fatty meat. It was fine if they were chewed and stuffed into their mouth first. Their teeth were not fully grown yet, so it was good to eat something that could enter their stomach. Little Bird didn't know what Sanshui County was. He casually nodded to show that he understood and lowered his head to help Uncle Sue eat. The two people who were eating at the side immediately understood why a servant could eat something that others had never seen before. It turned out that he was a member of Sanshui's Zhang family. The servants of Sanshui's Zhang family couldn't be judged by the standards of a servant. Any random one of them could write and calculate. It was said that a waiter in one of Shuiyun's flagship stores could recite poems and discuss prose with others. Immediately, one of them stood up and clasped his hands. "It's actually Brother Sue. Brother Sue, please accept my toast." As he spoke, he finished a big bowl of wine. The other person quickly stood up and also followed suit. Susie had no choice but to stand up. No matter how powerful the master was, he still had to follow the etiquette. Even if the wine of the two people was mixed into the water, he still had to drink a bowl. Fortunately, he still had a high alcohol tolerance. When he drank at home, the alcohol content was high. He raised his head and drank the wine. The two people were tactful and didn't disturb him. They smiled at Susie in a friendly manner and asked the shopkeeper and waiter to bring more wine. In the future, they would talk to others. The people from the Zhang family in Sanshui didn't have the slightest bit of arrogance and even drank a bowl of wine. After eating 2 pieces of fish, Little Bird put down his chopsticks. It wasn't that he didn't want to eat, but that his parents were giving him a look. Seeing Uncle Sue drinking a bowl of wine with someone, he turned his head and asked, "Uncle Sue, where did this fish come from? Little Bird has never eaten it before. How much did Uncle pay for this fish?" "This fish is from the Yangtze River. In the future, if Little Bird wants to go, he can row a boat to take a look. This fish was caught by our family's boat when it passed by the Yangtze River and brought to Luoyang." Susie considered his own alcohol tolerance and signaled the shopkeeper to bring another bowl over as he spoke to Little Bird. "Uncle Sue has a boat? Is it big? Is it bigger than my family's boat?" Little Bird compared. "It's big. It can sail in the sea. Uncle doesn't have a boat. It's the main family's boat. The 2 docks at the Jingshui Boat Company made it." Susie gave Little Bird another piece of fish and continued. This time Little Bird didn't eat. He looked at Susie with hope and asked carefully, "Uncle Sue, is it really the Jingshui Boat Company? Is there a new boat there? It looks similar to other small boats, but when going against the current it's very fast. Furthermore, it has wheels that are specially used to swing the net, allowing it to fish while moving." Little Bird saw at once. That person clearly had a big boat, but he insisted on rowing a small boat around Little Bird. He even told his father that the boat couldn't be bought by others and had to be custom-made at the Jingshui Boat Company. "The price isn't expensive, but how do we buy it? Uncle Sue, can you help us think of a way?" Susie pondered for a moment. Just as Little Bird's father was about to pull Little Bird back, he said, "Little Bird, do you want to buy it?" "Yes. My family also wants a good boat. It's not strenuous to carry people, and it's convenient to fish. Many people want to buy it. Little Bird nodded vigorously. Susie made a decision. Then how about this? Uncle Sue will write a letter back now. In a few days, Uncle Sue will return home. Little Bird, find others who want to buy a new boat and send Uncle Sue to Luoyang first. Uncle Sue will also pay for a portion of the stones. It's just a matter of traveling a little further. After arriving at Luoyang, wait a few days before a new boat is delivered to Luoyang. You can bring it back. Susie was prepared to use his authority. Since he had discovered a market, he had to expand it. From the looks of it, he needed to increase the manpower at the Jingshui Boat Company. The market research had not been done properly. The only reason he had ordered custom-made boats was because he was afraid that they wouldn't sell well. Little Bird was delighted. Afraid that Uncle Sue was lying, he pressed, Uncle Sue, can you really get a new boat? Isn't Uncle Sue a servant? Little Bird, don't speak nonsense, Little Bird's father reprimanded. Without waiting for Susie to explain, one of the two people who had been drinking with Susie spoke to Little Bird. Little guy, your Uncle Sue is no ordinary servant. He is in the inner courtyard of the Zhang family and Wang family. The words of the Zhang family and Wang family are final. Why aren't you thanking your Uncle Sue? Ah, that impressive? A servant can speak on behalf of the master? Thank you, Uncle Sue. My return trip is free of charge. What I say counts. Isn't that right, father? Little Bird similarly guaranteed. Little Bird's father nodded. That was what he meant. His son's words represented the adults. This time it was Susie's turn to be surprised. From Little Bird's confident look, it wasn't the first time he had done so. Other than his master, which other family's adults would dare let a child make a decision? Impressive. With a thought, Susie asked Little Bird, do you want to learn something even more impressive? If you want to learn, Uncle Luoyang will arrange it for you. As long as you are willing to work hard, it won't be difficult for you to take the imperial examinations when you grow up. Really? More impressive than Uncle Sue? Little Bird was tempted. He really wanted to be knowledgeable, but unfortunately, he never had the chance. What does Uncle count for? In the main family, there are many people more impressive than Uncle, especially a group of children who have studied for several years. Any one of them is more capable than Uncle. Uncle can't take the imperial examinations, but they can. Susie naturally understood the capabilities of his master. Talents were nurtured from generation to generation. The younger the generation, the more impressive they would be in the future. This was because the previous generation had to write down their experiences for the later generation to read. This time, Little Bird didn't stare at Susie's canned food. He ran back to his parents and discussed with them whether they should go to Luoyang to learn from others. At this time, Susie also stopped eating. He took out a charcoal pencil and spread out a piece of paper. He began to write a plan to sell the boat to a further place. He planned to find a local yamen after they set off, pay them some money, and use his identity to get the yamen to send them to Luoyang. The sun gradually moved to the center of the sky, giving people a warm feeling. After writing the letter and drinking 2 mouthfuls of wine, Susie picked up the guitar on his back and began to play. He only played but didn't sing. After playing a song, he was about to put away the guitar and continue on his way when a person came from the riverside. Before the person came close, the person praised, good song. The soft sound is like a woman going out, clear and crisp like spring water dripping from the heart. Brother, please. When I heard the sound of your guitar, I was suddenly enlightened, especially in the midst of the reeds and flowers. I peeled a leaf to peek at the person I admire. Good song, good guitar, what a combination of heart and soul. Susie was shocked. The person who came was right. He was thinking of someone else. Chapter 682. When Susie heard the introduction, he suddenly felt that the name was familiar. When the shopkeeper brought the wine over, he remembered who Wang Wei was and asked, Are you the Minister of War, Wang Sima? I've heard a lot about you. Minister Wang is a Jinsher. I've heard a lot about you. Susie knew who Wang Wei was. He often passed by this place and was familiar with the names of the local officials. He had heard of Wang Wei before. There was also some information about Wang Wei. He was very good at poetry, painting and zither. He was a jinshi at a young age and was now a secondary grade 5 official. Wang Wei was not surprised that Su Si knew his identity. As a businessman, he naturally wanted to know more about the local officials. However, when he mentioned the position of Minister of War, he felt a little lonely. After all, he was no longer in the capital. When he became a local official, he was not the official he liked. It was not as good as his initial position as Minister of War. He drank a big mouthful of wine and exhaled with all his might, as if he wanted to expel the annoyance in his heart. Then he said to Su Si, "Sima Yidong, when there are so many trivial matters, it is not easy to find leisure time. Today we finally came out with great difficulty. Why don't we let the farmer smell the soil and raise a cow to walk around and pick up grass to feed it?" "Brother Emoji, I beg to differ. It's better to be an official. I can do something for the common people." Sitsong joins the army. As long as the storehouse is well managed, the accounts are aligned, the things in the storehouse are not damaged, and they are often maintained. When the province is used for the common people, he will be happy. If the farmers can increase their income, the merchants can circulate their goods in the market, the workers can make better tools, and the scholars can spread education, why worry about the Tang Empire not prospering? Take this small wine shop for example. It is small, but it can provide convenience for pedestrians to rest. If you let me be the Minister of War, I will take good care of the warehouse. I will not let the food be eaten by rats and not let the cloth be eaten by insects. If there is space in the warehouse, I will plant some mushrooms. After they are dried, they can be eaten by the people in the yamen. If there is an extra dish, I can give it to the poor when the people lack food. Su Si refuted Wang Wei's idea of avoiding the world. What was wrong with managing the warehouse? It was also a skill to be able to manage it well. In this world, someone had to do it. When the people under the shed heard Su Si's words, their eyes lit up. When they looked at Su Si again, there was a trace of admiration in their eyes. Those who already knew his identity couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Everyone said that the Zhang family and the Wang family were good, especially Zhang Zhong, who was a good official and loved the people like his own children. It seemed that this was not a lie at all. Even a servant in the courtyard had such ambition. How could the master's family be any worse? Uncle Su, you are right. If all the officials in the world can be like Uncle Su, we will have good days ahead of us. Uncle Su, my father just said that he wants me to follow you to Luoyang for further studies. In the future, I want to be an official and contribute to the people. With a look of admiration, the little bird settled down and followed him. Wang Wei, who wasn't surprised when his identity was called out, was surprised. He looked at Su Si again and found that he wasn't someone who only cared about money. There weren't many merchants who could say something like that. He looked at Su Si again and then looked at the iron box again. Only then did he notice that there was a dark pattern on the iron box. There were 2 lines of words on it. The first line read, "Take care of yourself and rest well." The second line read, "It's hard to do things 1,000 miles away. Family members miss family members." At the end of the painting, there was also a painting of a rice seedling looking at the moon. Rice seedlings? Zhangzhe Zhuangzi of Sanshui County. Are you from the inner court of the Zhang family and the Wang family? Wang Wei finally knew the identity of the person who was talking to him. Different rice seedlings were the unique symbol of the Zhang family and the Wang family. Anyone who had stayed in the capital didn't know about the Zhangzhe Zhuangzi of Sanshui County. No wonder the fish in the iron box was so delicious. No wonder Su Si didn't sound like a businessman. Like master, like servant. Wang Wei also understood why Su Si dared to refute an official even though he knew his identity. There were many officials in his family, so why would they care about a 5th-rank official? There had always been a rumor in the capital that the inner court of the Zhang family and the Wang family could directly replace all the officials in a province. Even if all the officials in Luoyang died one day, as long as Zhang Zhong was sent over, all the government orders would be carried out as usual. The rumor was true. Su Si would probably do a good job in his position. After knowing Su Si's identity, Wang Wei's attitude became better. I didn't expect Brother Su to have such an identity. What Brother Su said just now, I will remember it in my heart. I will definitely think of a way to manage the province's warehouse well. But this position, Su Si was still as calm as before. After hearing Wang Wei's words, he said, "Brother Majia, do you feel that it is a waste of your talent? If you can't even manage a warehouse well, even if you become the prime minister in the future, don't you need to consider the warehouse? I don't know about other places, but in the inner court, if you want to do something, you have to start from the beginning. For example, how could I be sent out to do big business at the beginning? The Zhang family didn't let me do any business. I was only responsible for setting the price in the market. I learned as I did. After arranging the market, I had a lot of experience. Then I was sent out to do something else, but it was still not a big business. Even if a big business was given to me at that time, I wouldn't do it. I felt that I didn't learn enough and would delay the affairs of the family. Later on, I learned a lot and tried to take charge of things. Now, I can take charge of things independently. I feel that the officials of the imperial court should be the same. Now that you are the prime minister, do you know how to govern this country? Do you know what the production of the land is like? What do the people want to grow? Why do the left bank of some rivers have a stronger impact than the right bank? How can you minimize the impact of this impact on the dam? You don't have to be proficient in everything, but you have to at least understand it. No matter how good a poem is, it can't govern a country. No matter how good a painting is, it can't benefit the people. Even if you play the zither well, it can't let the people eat more meat. If that's the case, you can only manage one thing and not the overall situation. This is called culture, and you can't be the prime minister. My master was the top scorer in the imperial examination. Why did he have to go to Huayuan County to be an official? Why did he go to Luzhou? Why didn't he go to the capital now? Is it because he can't go there? You have to learn. My young master killed the other party in an economic war and lost everything. But didn't he have to go down and be a small official? My young lady led the army for thousands of miles, but she didn't say that she wanted to be an assistant minister in the Ministry of War. You have to know what you want to do in the future and what you need to know. You can't reach the sky in a single bound. Su Si felt that Wang Wei was a good person, so he told him more. In fact, he was also telling himself that he had to do things honestly. Otherwise, the higher he flew, the easier it would be for him to fall. At this time, not only was Wang Wei listening, but the people around him were also listening. The words were very normal, but some people knew this but did not do it. At this time, a person beside him said, "Yes, that's right. I'm a farmer. And I also want to have a world where I can produce 10 dan of grain per mu. However, I have to plant little by little. I have to pick out the good seeds every year and plant them next year. I have to fertilize, weed, and water. If I lack any of these, I can't expect to grow good crops. If an official doesn't know anything, how can the people live?" Wang Wei was in his 20s, and he had put his heart and soul into other things. His family was good, and he always felt that he was very good since he was young. He also passed the Grand Scholar exam and was directly given the position of Minister of Peace. Even now, he was still a rank 5 official. He wanted to learn from the ancient people and live in seclusion, or wait for a better position to be given to him. He didn't do his best to be a minister of war. At this time, when he heard Su Si's words, he understood many things. He couldn't blame Su Si for not caring about his position. Other than the fact that Su Si had a lot of officials, the Zhang family didn't lack literary talent. Zhang Zhong was the top scholar, and in terms of practical work, the Zhang family and Wang family were better. Under such circumstances, why would Su Si look up to someone who couldn't even be a good soldier? Wang Wei also knew why Zhang Zhong was an official. He was jealous of Zhang Zhong. Why could he choose his own position and go to any position he wanted? It turned out that Zhang Zhong didn't choose his position because he wanted to be promoted quickly. Or you can use your own money to buy new grains and store them in the warehouse. When the grain is sold, you can take out your own money. You might not have a lot of money, but you can start a warehouse first. When the time comes, you can use the money you earn to do this. I am just saying. Think about it carefully. When I am free, I will ask Little Young Master. Little Young Master has a lot of ideas and is not afraid of causing trouble. Su Si gave Wang Wei an idea. It was a good idea, but he didn't care if it was successful or not. He was not as capable as Little Young Master. Wang Wei looked at Su Si in astonishment. He couldn't help but admire Su Si. The inner courtyard of the Zhang family and Wang family was really powerful. Chapter 683. The heart is in the tide, the will is in the tide, the body is filled with lofty sentiments, the sea is in the tide. The waves are not stopped. The wind is lonely, the rain is lonely. A hand parting the clouds to reveal the sun. The snow vanishes from the world. After hearing Su Si's suggestion, Wang Wei was prepared to give it a try. No one liked to eat dried grains and they were about to rot. Why not brew wine? The kind with high alcohol content could be sold to the day hospital to be used as alcohol. It could also be used to soak medicine and drink slowly. If he did not have enough money, even if he had a warehouse, he would not be able to replenish it. It was dangerous to sell it secretly. His family might not have enough money. Besides, transporting it here took a lot of time. He could not wait. After thinking for a while, Wang Wei thought of Su Si. Brother Su, do you have extra money? Lend me 500 strings of coins and I will give you 5% interest. Su Si nodded and then shook his head. 500 strings of coins is not a lot. I can take it out, but I can't lend it to you and I can't ask for interest. I will lend it to you on behalf of my family's young master. According to the family rules, the inner courtyard cannot lend money to outsiders. Write a receipt and send it to you tomorrow. Wang Wei did not care who borrowed it, as long as it was useful. He agreed and put it on Su Si's guqin. Brother Su, do you have extra guqin? Give me one. Su Si thought that a guitar was not expensive, so he took it off and handed it to Wang Wei. He also drank the wine in the bowl with Wang Wei. The main reason was that Wang Wei wanted to eat canned fish and spicy cabbage. He was not afraid of the saltiness. Even the fermented bean sauce was in his mouth, leaving nothing behind. He also wanted to eat the canned food. Su Si was much more relaxed now that he did not have anything on him. He also lightened the weight of the boat. He continued to walk to the destination with the little bird and wrote a letter to the young master and his wife. He told them about what happened today. The days were getting warmer and warmer. It was the best time to raise poultry and livestock. The areas south of the Yellow River were the first to take action. Under the orders of the imperial court, the local government started to help the local people learn how to raise livestock. They could save on food and increase the amount of meat, leather and feathers from poultry. In Zhuangzi, the owner's family bought a thermometer and registered it with the government. This thing was very strict. If it was damaged, it had to be handed over, and if it was lost, it had to be recorded. Ordinary people without money would apply to buy it in villages, and the price was not low. A lot of cherries and Xiao Hong's books were sold. The money earned by the Zhang family and the Wang family from the sale of the thermometers was sent to Lu Zhou so that he could continue to build ships. The bigger the better. If they could not build a ship for the time being, they could research it with all their might. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also received Su Si's letter today. Even if Zhang Xiaobao didn't care about literature, he knew who Wang Wei was. After reading the letter, he said to Wang Wan, "Red beans are born in the southern kingdom, and only a few branches will grow in the spring. May you pluck more of it, for it is the most lovesick thing." Are you very touched? I've heard it too many times, so I don't feel anything. His paintings are not bad. Think of a way to get dozens of them and wait for them to appreciate in the future. Wang Wan seemed to be very calm. She didn't get excited just because the other party was Wang Wei. Zhang Xiaobao suddenly thought of an important problem and said, "Do you think Wang Wei won't be able to write so many good poems in the future with Su Si's interference? Why are you worried about this? A real poet can write poems under any circumstances. Poems are also a reflection of life philosophy. Maybe his poems will be better. If that's the case, I really hope he won't write about red beans." His wife died very early, and she hasn't died yet. After his wife died, he didn't marry again. I don't know what kind of illness she died of, so we have to pay attention to it. Wang Wan sighed. Now that the medical school was developing bit by bit, many diseases that should have killed people could be saved. She hoped that more lives could be saved in Tang dynasty. So that's how he wrote about red beans? Then was he and his wife as loving as mandarin ducks? Zhang Xiaobao really didn't know about this kind of history. Mandarin ducks are not as loving as you think. It's just that sometimes they swim together in the water during mating season. I'd rather be a wild goose. When I see them hugging each other, I feel very good and warm. I'll meet Wang Wei one day. After all, he's also a famous person. Zhang Xiaobao was excited for a while before he put his energy on other things. He didn't know how many ships came from Japan this time. Yesterday, it was sent to the county. It was estimated that the ore could be refined for 3,000 taels of silver. Zhang Xiaobao still bought it back at the price of 2,400 strings of coins. It seemed that the Japanese were also very happy. Maybe they felt that it was better to exchange silver for so many copper coins than to leave it worthless in Japan. They were also asking around about how to buy good technology, such as how to make thermometers and how to get the thing that could be used to fill a person's body with salt water. They invited officials to dinner, gave gifts, and went to find women together. The result was needless to say. The technology was in the hands of the Zhang family and Wang family. How could they give it to them? In a few days, Japan will send some silver ore. In fact, it's not easy for them now. Those who are capable will go up, and those who are mediocre will go down. Those who feel that they can't do it can withdraw in advance. You will be compensated. Ernie continued to explain. This time it was time to choose people. Yue also chimed in. Just like the logistics camp in Idyll, everyone in there is capable and can fight all day. If you want to do things for the Zhang family and Wang family, you must have the ability. As soon as he said this, the craftsmen were not convinced. Who was afraid of who? Wasn't it just doing things according to the specific situation of each place? Just look and listen and they would understand. All of them rolled up their sleeves, ready to go all out. The people in the periphery also joined in the fun and voiced their agreement. In the future, Wuxia County would definitely be better than other places because there was something that only the palace had. Another reason was that since this place was going to be built, it needed people to help transport things. It was also a job. Seeing that things were about to be done, Zhang Xiaobao, Wang Wan, and Yue each took a shovel and dug the first shovel of earth. Then the sound of firecrackers rang out, and the construction site began to work. At this time, Cherries, who had not been seen for a few days, came back. She looked angry and walked up to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. She said, "Little master, little miss, someone is pestering me and asking me to be his concubine. He said that his family is rich and is bullying me." "Oh, there's such a thing? Let me see who dares to ask my Cherries to be his concubine. Rich. How much money? Cherries, I agree that you should use your private savings to crush him." Chapter 684. Yes, smash him to death. Cherries finally smiled when she saw that her wife supported her. She looked around and reached out to someone standing in the crowd. When she saw the smiling person, she said to Wang Wan, "Young lady, it's him. When I was helping Yue think of a way to raise the tortoise, he passed by and saw me. Then he came to pester me every day." Wang Wan stood on tiptoe to look. She didn't know him and didn't have any flags to show his identity. She thought for a while and said, "Cherries, you stay with me in Xiaobao these days. I'll see if he dares to come again." "Hey, I won't go anywhere." Cherries replied happily. She didn't look at that person anymore. She just stared at the construction site and looked at the flying dust. She didn't look at others, but others were looking at her. They moved closer little by little. They squeezed through the outermost crowd and stood beside Cherries. They said to Cherries, "Young lady, it's really fate that we meet again. I heard that the Fengwu Pavilion in the county is good. Why don't I invite you to taste it?" When the people next to her saw this person, they thought that he was so shameless. His footsteps were frivolous, and his face was pale and slightly flushed. It was obvious that he had overindulged. His face was big, not fat but swollen. Cherry stood between Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and replied impatiently, "I don't know you. Stay away from me. If you do this again, I'll ask someone to teach you a lesson." "You don't know me? It doesn't matter. I'm the eldest son of Butler Wang. Do you know me, young lady?" The person didn't care and said proudly. Wang Wan turned around and looked at the person up and down. She asked, "Which eldest son of Butler Wang? Do you know who she is?" "Oh, there's an even younger lady. Not bad, a beauty. I like her. Isn't she Cherries, a servant of the Zhang family? She knows how to use a thermometer to hatch chickens and ducks. I have a lot of chickens and ducks at home. When she comes to my home, I'll let her take care of them. Young lady, who are you? The person began to stare at Wang Wan again. Wang Wan didn't know where this idiot came from. Seeing that the person's mouth was dirty, she said angrily, I'm your ancestor, Xiao Bao. Beat him. Break his legs. There was no need for Wang Wan to say anything. Xiao Bao was already standing behind the man. He kicked between the man's slightly opened legs and hit the target. Aya! With a scream, the person fell to the ground with his hand covering his genitals. Zhang Xiaobao didn't plan to stop. He grabbed a piece of dirt from the ground and wrote on the person's body. He pulled the person's hair and smashed the dirt in his hand into the person's mouth. The dirt was used to build houses for many years. It was as hard as stone. In a few hits, the person's front teeth were all smashed out. Blood flew everywhere. The person couldn't shout anymore. He wanted to get up despite the pain in his lower body. Zhang Xiaobao hit the person's temple twice. Finally, the person was confused. He continued to smash the person's mouth. After smashing the front teeth, he smashed the person's cheeks. Before the people around could react, the person's teeth were all smashed out by Zhang Xiaobao. His face was badly mutilated and blood foam came out of his mouth. Zhang Xiaobao got down from the person's body. He said to the two yamen runners who were still in a daze, What are you standing there for? Bring the fire sticks and break his legs. He dared to molest my woman. If I let him die a quick death, I'll take his surname. Be quick. The two bailiffs came back to their senses and were also very angry. They clashed with the fire sticks and with two cracking sounds, both of the man's legs were broken. The man let out an inhuman scream from his throat and immediately fainted. Pour water on him and wake him up. Zhang Xiaobao was still angry. He didn't want to let go of the person who had done it before. A basin of water was poured down. The person on the ground woke up again. His throat made hoarse sounds. He struggled to turn his head and looked at Zhang Xiaobao with eyes full of fear. Cherries couldn't watch this bloody scene. She turned her head to the side. Wang Wan squatted down with a smile and asked sweetly, Handsome young master, do you still like me? The people around who knew about Wang Wan's past understood that this person was finished. Cuckoo smiled. His voice was so pleasant. He was probably not far from death. Young master, what happened to you? Who was it? Who hurt my young master like this? Finished, you're finished. Do you know who my young master is? My young master is the eldest young master of Generals Wu Wuwei, Duke Hua, Keifu Yi, and the three ministers. You're finished. Quickly hand over the murderer. For people squeezed in from outside the crowd. They ran to the person lying on the ground and shouted to the people around them. Zhang Xiaobao nodded and said, Good, what a high-ranking official. So he's the son of Wang Maozhong's housekeeper. How impressive. He clearly knows that Cherries is a member of the Zhang family, but he still dares to speak like this. It seems that he doesn't put the Zhang family in his eyes. How impressive. Come, break the legs of these four people for me. The people around them were frightened when they heard the names of the officials. Just as they were worried about Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, they heard that Zhang Xiaobao still didn't want to give up. The two bailiffs hesitated for a moment, then gritted their teeth and rushed forward. They raised their sticks and smashed them. They had to knock them down first so that they wouldn't break their legs. Otherwise, they wouldn't wait for them to make a move. The four people also jumped up and fought with the two bailiffs. They seemed to have similar skills, but four people outnumbered two people. After taking 2 hits from the sticks, the bailiffs' weapons were grabbed by others. Now that they were fighting again, they obviously didn't have the upper hand. The bailiffs anxiously wanted to find help, but Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao weren't there. The guards also didn't follow, so there was no one to help them. At the crucial moment before Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could kill them, He Wei shouted, Someone is bullying our Xiaobao and Cuckoo. Go beat them to death. The people who were worried a moment ago finally didn't care about the other party's identity. They surrounded them and punched and kicked them. There were even women who stretched out their hands to grab them. The four people struggled for a while, but they were finally outnumbered. They were beaten down by the people. There were even children who imitated Zhang Xiaobao and threw dirt at their faces. He Yue wiped his sweat and stood in front of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to protect them. In his heart, children were children. They couldn't beat adults. When the people finished venting, 2 of the 4 people fainted. The other 2 were covered in blood. The 2 bailiffs whose faces were swollen didn't forget to carry out their duties. They came over and broke the 4 people's legs. Cheng Er spat out a mouthful of blood and sucked in a breath of cold air. He cursed, "Why don't you take a look at where you are? Is Baoxin County a place where you can behave atrociously? Everyone, Cheng Er thanks you." Now that this matter is over, Cheng Er invites everyone to Fengwu Pavilion for a meal. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan stood out from behind He Yue. They tidied their clothes and bowed to the people. The people's hearts were useful. They clearly knew the other party's identity, but they still rushed up to fight. These were the people under their rule. If they didn't let them live a good life, they would be letting down today's matter. When the people saw that Xiaobao and Cuckoo, who were the most adorable in their hearts, weren't injured, they felt relieved and returned the greeting. They had a good fight, but they still dared to bully Xiaobao and Cuckoo. They were simply tired of living. Among the 5 people lying on the ground, one of them was very strict and could still speak. He said firmly, "Just you wait. My master won't let you off. Even if you admit your mistakes now, it's too late." Haha, good. Your bones aren't soft. Admit your mistakes? Let me tell you, I don't plan on letting you go back alive. If you weren't Wang Maozhong's subordinates, I would still let you go. Since it's him, you will all die here. I will send your corpses back to Wang Maozhong and let him go to Xingqing Palace to file a lawsuit. Zhang Xiaobao knew that Wang Maozhong and Gao Lishir didn't get along. Wang Maozhong looked down on eunuchs. Since he had acknowledged his godfather and received benefits from his godfather, he had to give his godfather some face. He couldn't always receive without paying. Wang Wan also said to Zhang Xiaobao indifferently, "It seems that the conflict will be brought forward. Now is not a good time. It's good to leave a good impression on Li Longji first. Go to Luoyang and ask him to transfer 300 people from the first protection team who have never experienced a battle. Expand the second protection team and guard the house well. I'll see if Wang Maozhong will send people to cause trouble." He Yue sighed. He now knew that he had to pick a side. The immortals were going to fight, and none of them were easy to deal with. Wang Wan wanted to transfer the guards over, and he guessed that it was going to be a big fight. He did not know if Wan Qi would come over. After Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finished bowing, they cupped their fists and said to the people around them, "Today I, Zhang Xiaobao, am grateful for everyone's help. I hereby swear to the heavens that within a year, if I can't let the people in the county live a good life and provide for the old and the young, I will be struck by lightning. Everyone disperse. Cuckoo and I will take responsibility for today's matter." As soon as these words were said, the people couldn't take it anymore. They shouted one after another. This was everyone's matter. If they wanted to take responsibility, then they should take responsibility together. Xiaobao and Cuckoo didn't need to worry. They didn't need to be afraid of how many people the other party sent. There were outsiders who, after asking about the matter, felt like they were dreaming. Wang Maozhong's men were all beaten up when they came. There were so many people around them who were shouting for help. Could this be Xiaobao and Cuckoo's ability? Drag these 5 people down and interrogate them. Ask them why they came here and ask them about other things. Then let them sign their names. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the 5 people lying on the ground and said to the 2 Yamen runners. At this time, the Yamen runners didn't need to do anything. The people would help. They now thought very clearly. Wang Maozhong was powerful, but Xiaobao and Cuckoo weren't bad either. Moreover, the people they beat were the servants. No matter how powerful Wang Maozhong was, he wouldn't dare to go against the Zhang family and Wang family for a few servants. The servants weren't important. Of course, the servants of the Zhang family and Wang family were important. This matter was caused by cherries, who usually taught the people on their side how to hatch chicks. The most important thing was that Wang Maozhong couldn't let them live a good life. Xiaobao and Cuckoo could. If they didn't protect Xiaobao and Cuckoo, who would they protect? The 5 people were dragged away like this. They should be interrogated to get a lot of information that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan needed. Zhang Xiaobao turned his head and looked at He Yue, who already knew which side to take. Wang Maozhong sent people over to apologize this time. I'll pretend that nothing happened. If he dares to cause trouble again, I'll see how many people in Tang still remember me. I'll impeach him now. Old Man Pai didn't want to ask more about the specific situation. He knew that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan weren't people who would take the initiative to cause trouble. Usually, when they met an opponent, they would take a step back and give the opponent a chance to choose. Why did He Yiwei come over? It was because he didn't do a good job in the past and sent himself to be punished. Xiaobao and Cuckoo didn't say that they would do anything to He Yiwei immediately. Fortunately, He Yiwei was sensible and knew what to do immediately. If someone was thinking about Cuckoo, even if it was just words, Xiaobao wouldn't agree. Usually Xiaobao often cooked for Cuckoo. Yes, it was Wang Maozhong's fault. They had to impeach him directly. After the three old men comforted Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, they went back to write letters. Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao directly impeached Wang Maozhong. Old Man Chong wrote a letter to Zhang Zhuoling and asked him to help. This time, regardless of who was in charge, they had to suppress Wang Maozhong. Without Wang Maozhong, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could replace him. Without Wang Maozhong, who could replace him? When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan saw that the three old men had gone to help, they felt that today's opportunity was very good. With a call, the people who helped were all invited to the Fengwu Pavilion to treat everyone to a meal. The owner of the Fengwu Pavilion first wrote a letter and sent it away. Then, he arranged the place and asked the chef to cook well. The Fengwu Pavilion would treat this meal. The 5 people who were captured and interrogated were miserable. The bailiffs personally took action. Their methods were numerous. They were interrogated separately. As long as someone said something different, they would immediately be punished. If it was just this, it would not be a big deal. However, the bailiffs were ordered to get more useful information. How could it be useful? Naturally, they would say whatever they were told. After a round of interrogation, they obtained a lot of information. The 5 people who were tortured to the point where they did not look human said whatever they were told. In the end, they pressed their fingerprints. After the bailiffs finished interrogating them, the people brought by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan continued to interrogate them. They were like light bulbs that did not sleep. Every once in a while, they would change people. Some of the questions they asked were questions they had asked before, and some were questions they had never asked before. After 3 days of continuous interrogation, as long as the 5 people opened their mouths, they would ask what Wang Maozhong had done. It was very uniform. If they asked anything else, they would not get anything. Anyone who knew this situation was more and more afraid of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. This method was proposed by the 2 of them. Zhang Xiaobao finally did not kill them, but making them look like idiots was probably worse than killing them. Wang Wan also came up with a lot of ideas. She was most familiar with this kind of torture at that time. Unless a person had been specially trained and needed the help of drugs, ordinary people would not be able to withstand this method. Xiaobao, it's easy now. What are you writing? Wang Wan asked Zhang Xiaobao after seeing the things that were interrogated. I'm writing a method to extort a confession. Give it to my godfather. This should be very useful to him. Is it really unacceptable to be a eunuch? Chapter 685. Zhang Xiaobao wrote down most of the methods that he and Wang Wan knew to extort a confession. He did not write about the drugs. The medical school was studying it and would give it to Gao Lishir. Gao Lishir should need it. Zhang Xiaobao did not expect Gao Lishir to be like a saint. He only wanted him to be as loyal as possible and protect the Tang Empire as much as possible. Behind all the sunshine was darkness. It was the first time that he and Wang Wan used such a method. Zhang Xiaobao heard from Wang Wan that Wang Maozhong looked down on eunuchs, just like how Zhang Shua looked down on people who worked their way up from the bottom and did not have any literary skills. So he did not agree. What was wrong with eunuchs? At least eunuchs would not rape good women. It was said that eunuchs treated their wives better than many normal people. Because of their physical defects and psychological pressure, they understood the difficulties of a woman better. When Wang Wan heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, she said, in fact, it is the same as a femme fatale. Men are not willing to admit their mistakes. What can they do? They push the blame to women. I remember a woman said that it was not because of love, but because she was wronged by the previous circumstances. Flowers will fall and bloom in their own time. It is always the East Emperor's fault. If you go, you will go eventually. How can you live? If you have a head full of flowers, don't ask where you go. It should be Yen Rui who said that. I look down on such a man. Who should bear the responsibility? If you don't even have the courage to face the responsibility, what is the point of living? Eunuchs are the same because many eunuchs have harmed the country. Indeed, after the Tang dynasty, your godfather set the precedent for eunuchs to have great power. Such things happened in various dynasties in the future. But if you really ask, are eunuchs more harmful to the country or normal people more harmful to the country? In many people's view, eunuchs should have no dignity. They are the kind of people who are very bad. What about Zheng He? Because of this, Wang Maozhong looked down on your godfather. In the end, he was dealt with by your godfather. No matter how loyal he was, as long as the things he did were easy to be suspected, then it would be difficult to explain clearly. If Gao Lisher knew what we did, he would definitely be very happy, but we must not let him come forward. Wang Maozhong is very good at raising horses, and he also has a close relationship with the two divisions' 10,000 riders. Especially since he is a great helper for Li Longji. This time don't even think about defeating him. It's not the right time yet, but we must fight. We must show our might and let other people know that the Zhang family and Wang family are not pushovers who can be crushed as and when they want to, even if they are meritorious officials. Indeed, Zhang Xiaobao did not know about this matter. He had never learned about it, unlike Wang Wan who was doted on since she was young. She was a genius and knew a lot about certain things. After hearing Wang Wan's words, he said, "Is it really impossible to get rid of him?" Wang Wan knew what kind of person Li Longji was, so she suggested to Zhang Xiaobao, "You can, as long as you're willing to hand over the technology of the repeating pistol and single-shot rifle that we've just developed." Li Longji doesn't care about meritorious officials. He'll do it even if you ask him to cut Wang Maozhong into pieces. Are you going to hand it over? Zhang Xiaobao shook his head vigorously. "I'm not a fool. I won't hand it over. No matter what, I won't hand it over. The secret with Lu Zhou must not be leaked out now. Unless we have more advanced weapons, then we can consider giving the original to others." Without the deterrence of force, how can we live freely in this era? I don't want to have to kneel in front of Li Longji and beg for his help one day no matter how much I've been wronged. Who does he think he is? Is my dignity something that others can control? I'm not using force to force him now because he's not bad now. When I play with him, I'll pretend to be a child and look cute. However, we'll grow up one day, and this game can't continue. Once Li Longji stops treating us as cute children, this game will be over. If he gives us 2 sniper rifles, who in this world can say that they're safe? Cuckoo, I haven't asked you yet. Are you accurate with your gun? Why don't we have a competition sometime? You're a man, yet you're bullying a little girl. Moreover, you're an underage little girl. How can you be so shameless? I can't shoot accurately. I can only shoot 10 times while the target is moving. My best result is 92 points. Wang Wan rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao and told him her results. Are you serious? When the target is moving in the mountains and you're moving as well, you can hit 92 points with 10 shots. Is it a shotgun? A distance of 5 meters. Zhang Xiaobao knew what she meant. It was a blatant provocation. Why would I lie to you? I've been touching guns since I was young, and I've even been to the hospital. Do you think that you're the only one with talent and that everyone else is an idiot? I've been practicing shooting since I was 6, and I've always suffered some minor injuries. I started using handguns that aren't too powerful to train my strength bit by bit. In the end, I switched to a rifle. I've been shooting for 24 years, so what do you think my standard should be? When I was in the Central Military Academy, I could even perform simple psychological calculations based on my feelings. Otherwise, why do you think the Special Investigations Department would send me out to capture you? Don't the Intelligence Department know about your capabilities? Give me a handgun and I'll let you do some dodging actions. Why don't you try to flip over a wall in front of me? Wang Wan shook her head proudly and looked at her hands out of habit. When she saw that there weren't any calluses on her hands, she finally came out of her original world. Zhang Xiaobao was indeed not as accurate as Wang Wan. He said unconvinced, "Then let's compete in the jungle. I don't believe that I can't conquer you. You look like you've developed quite well. No wonder that person said that. Let me take a good look. I reckon that you'll be able to, right? Xiaobao, you're a hooligan. Now I know. What do you want to do? Don't touch me. You're a child who doesn't know anything. If you continue like this, I'll really separate from you. Wang Wan was hugged in Zhang Xiaobao's arms. She twisted with all her might and said angrily, I just want to experience it. We've always been together, so I didn't notice. This isn't our time. There's actually a crime of rape between husband and wife. Besides, I've done nothing but hug. You're always hugging me at night, so I can't hug you during the day. Tell me, when should we get married? Zhang Xiaobao really didn't pay attention to Wang Wan's development in the past. Today, when he took a closer look, she was indeed different. She looked like a little beauty. Hugging Wang Wan in his arms, he realized that she was growing up bit by bit. It was the same for him. At least 16 years old. Otherwise, it'll be too harmful to the body. We have good nutrition and we exercise regularly. We develop early. I reckon that by 16 years old, we'll be like an ordinary person at 20 years old. Why am I telling you this? Let go and talk about serious matters. I reckon that Li Longji is biased towards us and will find things for us to do. For example, he clearly wants to help us, but he insists that we give him some benefits. Of course, it's fine if we don't give him any benefits, but the game between us won't be fun. Think about it, what benefits should we give him? Why do I feel that he's become a child the moment he meets us? Wang Wan really liked Zhang Xiaobao's embrace. She knew that Zhang Xiaobao also liked to be hugged by her. It was comfortable, but she couldn't do that now. As she spoke, she pushed Zhang Xiaobao away and began to talk about this matter. Cuckoo, let's not talk about Li Longji first. Let's talk about why Wang Maozhong's servant came this time. Doesn't he know the power of the Zhang family and the Wang family? That's impossible. Nowadays, as long as it's an official with some connections, who doesn't know the power of the Zhang family and the Wang family? Who would be at a loss after hearing about between the clouds and the water? If he knew about it, how could his servants not know about it? But his butler's eldest son still came, and the moment he arrived, he set his eyes on Cherries. Why do you think? I feel that we have to start from Cherries' abilities. Cherries can determine the temperature with her hands, and she's very proficient in breeding. At the very least, she's much more proficient than the people of this era. The idea of using male livestock sperm to breed with female livestock that have taken an aphrodisiac or estrogen was proposed by Cherries. We only talked about her ovulation and fertilization, but she already thought of reproducing during the unnatural estrus period. I reckon that Wang Maozhong must have taken a liking to Cherries' talents, so he sent someone to woo her in hopes of getting Cherries to help him rear the horses. After all, he's in charge of the great Tang's army, and that represents the mobility of the army. Perhaps Wang Maozhong thinks too highly of himself, thinking that our servants aren't worth anything. Out of respect for him, we'll betroth Cherries to his butler's eldest son, but he doesn't know that our thoughts are different from his. Most of the time we care more about our dignity. Putting aside the fact that Cherries' talents can't be taught to others, even if she can, we can't let Cherries become a concubine. Besides, that brat isn't worthy of Cherries. His family is rich, but how much money do you think they have? Cherries should have at least 30,000 strings of cash now, right? Seeing that Wang Wan was getting down to business, Zhang Xiaobao began to talk about this situation. He analyzed human nature for Wang Wan. He was quite an expert in psychology. Of course, at this time there was no fixed pattern of psychological changes. Psychology was not a dogma, but a study of psychological analysis. Every era was different, but the general idea was the same. After hearing this, Wang Wan felt a sense of crisis. In other words, he has set his eyes on us. It's just that he made a mistake in his judgment of the situation. He doesn't understand our personalities, and he doesn't understand the butler's eldest son very well. I think he didn't expect the butler's eldest son to provoke me. Exactly. So this time, if we don't use extreme measures, we can't beat him. You don't want to beat him down directly. Of course. What's the use of beating him down? There's still the other person, the leader of the 10,000 riders. If I beat him up, the other person will definitely be unhappy. He'll think of ways to make trouble for me. If I beat the other person down, how can we still play this game? The leader of the 10,000 riders is also Li Longji's close vassal. If you beat up 2 people in a row, then we can just show our strength and end this game. Tell Li Longji, don't think too highly of yourself. We don't want to do anything to you. I still want to play this game for a few more years. Once the 2 of them get married, they'll be finished. Tell me, what results can we achieve this time? Wang Wan told Zhang Xiaobao what she was thinking. She didn't want to use other methods immediately, and wanted to rely on her age advantage. You want me to say it? I'm guessing that he'll tell Li Longji about how pitiful his subordinates are instead of reporting their grievances to the royal court. If that's the case, many of the ministers will know that he's clashing with our 2 families, and it's the kind of conflict that doesn't involve reason. Even if he's Li Longji's favored vassal, he won't be able to withstand the attacks of the ministers. That's because many of them aren't Li Longji's original followers. They don't want the people from that time to be so impressive. In the end, of course, we'll learn from him and complain about how wronged we are. Isn't this the rule of the game? We don't want to immediately reveal other things to others, so let's play together. I'm prepared to give him a benefit, which is a new technology. We'll give him the improved version of the Kongming lantern, which is the hot air balloon. In exchange for benefits, we'll make him favor us. With the efforts of Grandpa Bai and the others, we'll definitely be able to make Wang Maozhong reluctantly give up on his butler. This won't just be a matter of one servant. Once others know that the reason for the conflict is because we tried to protect his servant and Wang Maozhong sent him away, it'll be a huge blow to him. What do you think our servants are thinking, and what do you think his servants are thinking? Zhang Xiaobao decided that since it was Wang Maozhong's men who made him unhappy, he wouldn't let them off so easily. Even though he only lost a servant, what he really lost was his prestige and the trust his subordinates had in him. And his subordinates would be even more loyal. Wang Wan didn't know if it would work, but she still agreed with Zhang Xiaobao's suggestion. She nodded and said, "All right, let's do that. We'll go and make the hot air balloon now. We already have the technology and we just need to put it into practice. What do you think we should do if Li Longji gets too excited and gets into trouble? He's not a fool. How can he get into trouble before the technology is ready? It's easy for accidents to happen on a plane. There are so many leaders flying around. Just tell him not to get into the hot air balloon first. If he really wants to get into the hot air balloon, we can make a big airbag below. If he feels that something is wrong, he can just jump down. I don't think he dares to do that." Zhang Xiaobao was very clear about this problem. He hugged Wang Wan tightly and pulled her out of the room. Wang Wan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was said that no matter how powerful a man was outside, once he met the woman he loved at home, he would become very attached to her. It seemed that this saying was true. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan asked people to develop the hot air balloon, Old Man Pai and the other 2 sent letters to Beijing one after another. Of course, Wang Maozhong also knew that his servant was being carried back home. On this day, Li Longji was watching a song and dance in Xingqing Palace. Gao Lishir went out in a hurry. When he came back, he looked like he wanted to say something. When Li Longji saw Gao Lishir's expression, he knew that something was wrong. While watching the song and dance, he asked in a low voice, "What's wrong with Gao Lishir today?" Gao Lishir was waiting for this sentence. He showed a sad expression and said, "My adopted son Xiaobao is in trouble. Is it because he didn't control the new county magistrate well? It doesn't matter. It's time to deal with him. It doesn't matter if he dies." Li Longji thought that it was this matter, so he said casually, "Your Majesty, it's not this. After the new county magistrate He Yiwei came to Baoxin County, he actually changed. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo worked together to let him know the mistakes he made in the past. Now, his reputation in the county is very good. Every day, he has to tell the new county's situation to the people. The people are very supportive. Yes, he changed. I don't know what kind of tricks Xiao Bao and Cuckoo used." Gao Lishir continued to talk. This time Li Longji was also puzzled. He Yiwei knew that ordinary people couldn't control him unless they killed him. Why did he change after coming to Baoxin County? Gao Lishir hurriedly explained the methods that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had used. He did not mention why he had said that he did not know what methods the 2 of them had used. Now he knew everything. Li Longji didn't have the time to find fault with Gao Lisher's words. After listening to Gao Lisher's words, he suddenly laughed out loud. Capable minister, this is my capable minister. Xiaobao and Huan knew that I didn't want them to kill people, but instead gave me a good official. They are indeed capable. Lisher, this is a good thing. Why did you say it was causing trouble? Li Longji was overjoyed. It was easy to deal with a person, but it was difficult to make a person good. He didn't expect that Xiaobao and Cuckoo would understand his meaning. It was rare. Your Majesty, it's not just this matter. This is a small matter to Xiaobao and Cuckoo. Isn't it just making an ordinary official into a capable minister? It's too ordinary, and the two of them can do it casually. It was someone who took a fancy to Cuckoo and wanted to take her as a concubine. He even used frivolous words. That insensible adopted son of mine didn't know how to calm down and beat him up. He almost killed him. It's all because of this subject's lack of discipline. Gao Lisher's face was full of regret as he said sadly, "Who dares to touch Cuckoo? Isn't that Xiaobao's man? Why didn't he just beat him to death? Xiaobao is too soft-hearted. Cuckoo was taken advantage of by others, so how could he spare her life? This won't do, I have to reprimand him." Li Longji had just finished rejoicing when he heard about this matter. The first thing that came to his mind was that his concubine was taken advantage of by others. This was too much. Who didn't know that Xiaobao and Cuckoo were together? Furthermore, Cuckoo was a famous general of her generation. She wasn't bullied in Tubo, and now that she was back in Great Tang, she was taken advantage of? Your Majesty, it's fine if it's an ordinary person, but this time it's Wang Maozhong, the eldest son of Lord Wang's butler. His leg was broken by Xiaobao in a fit of anger, and both Xiaobao and Cuckoo are worried about him. It's all this subject's fault. Gao Lisher continued to add fuel to the fire. As expected, when Li Longji heard that it was Wang Maozhong, he paused for a moment. But when he heard that it was the butler's son, he said angrily, "Why didn't he break his neck? What is his family doing in Baoxing County instead of staying in their own home?" At this moment someone came to protect them. It was Wang Maozhong. Li Longji was still fuming over this matter, and when he heard that the culprit was here, he bellowed, "Let him in." How would Wang Maozhong know that someone was slandering him? The moment he entered, he kneeled in front of Li Longji and cried, "Your Majesty, please uphold justice for this subject. This subject's family has been beaten up by others, and they're on the verge of death. It's all because they provoked a little girl." Chapter 686. This time, Wang Maozhong was sent back by the Jinwu guards to deliver a few good communication horses to the Jinwu guards. At the same time, he also wanted to visit Li Longji. When he returned to the capital, he found out that his servant was beaten up badly. If it was someone else who dared to beat up his servant, he would have turned around to find trouble with the other party. He would bring a few hundred soldiers and scare the other party. However, the place where he beat up his servant was different. In Baoxing County, Zhang Zhong's son Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were involved in this and were the main instigators. If he really wanted to bring a few hundred soldiers there, he estimated that the soldiers would be scared to death. Not to mention the imperial court would be in chaos for a while. Wang Maozhong could not ignore his servant being beaten. After thinking about it, he went to Xingqing Palace and cried. In the side hall, the emperor was not in the main hall. The side hall had just sent a set of models. It was not easy to do it in a distant place. Jiangyi province was closer, so he made a model of the capital and the surrounding areas. It was unknown whether it was intentional or not, but the roads in the capital were not the original dirt roads, the kind that occasionally had some stones. Instead, they were paved with compacted mud in the middle, and there were square bricks with lattice on both sides. Each square brick had a small word on it, which was the Book of Songs. One had selected the contents from it. There was also a magnifying glass that could be used to look carefully. When Wang Maozhong came in, Gao Lisher no longer spoke for Zhang Xiaobao. He stood respectfully beside Li Longji and gave Wang Maozhong a very gentle smile. Wang Maozhong ignored Gao Lisher and knelt on the ground. "Your Majesty, please help this subject. This subject's servant was beaten up because of a girl. Your Majesty, This subject's servant is always considerate of this subject. This subject can't ignore this. Wang Maozhong wasn't stupid. He didn't immediately tell Li Longji how he should deal with him. Instead, he brought up his servant. He was also Li Longji's servant and had a good relationship with him. By saying that his servant was good to him, he was telling Li Longji that he was also good to Li Longji. Maozhong, get up quickly. Why did your servant go to Baoxin County for no reason? Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are still young and don't know how to reason. Don't lower yourself to their level. Why don't we let them pay for it? How about we give each of them 500 strings of cash? Li Longji did not want to see Wang Maozhong and Zhang Wang's families fight, so he wanted to be a peacemaker. What he meant was that it did not matter who was to blame for this. It was not easy for all of them. Since Wang Maozhong's servant was beaten up, he should pay some money and let this matter pass. Wang Maozhong thought that Li Longji would speak up for him, but he didn't expect him to say such a thing. What do you mean by unreasonable? If he were to ask the Tubo people about this, would they believe him? 500 strings of cash per person sounded like a lot, but based on this price, with the financial resources of the Zhang family and the Wang family, wouldn't they be able to beat up their own family members every day? Your Majesty, the reason why I sent people over was to invite the Zhang family to discuss raising horses with me. I heard that the Zhang family and the Wang family also have people who are good at this. I didn't expect that they would be beaten up just a few days after arriving in the county. Your Majesty, please help me. Wang Maozhong said according to the words he had prepared. In fact, he was also angry with the housekeeper. Nowadays, many people raise poultry and livestock well. He had also read the book written by Cherries. There were many aspects that he did not think of. Her words were straightforward and clear. She was a great talent. Therefore, he ordered the housekeeper to think of a way to win Cherries over. Who knew that the housekeeper sent his son over? The way to win her over was to marry her as a concubine. This was not a big deal. A servant should marry a servant. However, how did that boy offend Wang Wan? He was beaten up, so he had to stand up for himself. Otherwise, wouldn't others think that he was afraid of the Zhang family and the Wang family? Afraid of Zhang Zhong? He could only avoid the important and dwell on the trivial and find excuses. Li Longji did not care about who was right or wrong. He was interested in the meaning of Wang Maozhong's words. It turned out that the girl named Cherries of the Zhang family was good at raising horses. It seemed that the land of Feng province was not wrong. In the future, there would be more horses in the Tang Empire. Whether it was for war or transportation, it would be very convenient. Thinking of this, Li Longji asked Wang Maozhong, Maozhong, do you have good horses for breeding? Your Majesty, yes. I ask people to take good care of them every day. Your Majesty asked me to raise the horses. I feel that the horses are my family. Wang Maozhong did not know why the topic changed to raising horses again. He just answered the question. Really? Then, since Maozhong likes horses, why don't you take out 1,000 good stallions and send them to the Zhang family and the Wang family in Feng province? After a few years, I will have them return you 5,000 good horses. Firstly, the Zhang family and the Wang family will spend a lot of money and energy. Secondly, raising the horses will require Cherries. When the time comes, you will know how well she raises them. It is like killing two birds with one stone. What do you think? Li Longji felt that he had found a solution. Wang Maozhong's eyes almost popped out. What was this? He came here crying and complaining. Not only did he not get any benefits, he also lost 1,000 stallions. 5 years later, 5,000 stallions was indeed a lot. It was enough to tire them to death. But who knew what would happen 5 years later? Your Majesty is wise. It is indeed killing two birds with one stone. It is a good idea. Gao Lisher joined in the fun. If one looked carefully, one would find that he was secretly pinching himself to prevent himself from laughing out loud. Li Longji was also very proud. Let's do this. Come, Maozhong, I will show you what Great Tang's Gongji province looks like. As he spoke, Li Longji gestured for Wang Maozhong to come over, and handed him a magnifying glass. Look here, this is Fengzhou, the place where you are going to deliver the horses. On the way to the capital there is a desert. It can be described as yellow sand mountains. Every winter there will be heavy snow. After crossing the desert, you will arrive. Wang Maozhong held the magnifying glass in his hand and stood beside the model, listening to Li Longji's explanation. Then he looked at Gao Lisher, who was measuring the distance with a ruler, and wondered if he was still dreaming. While Li Longji was excitedly showing off his skills as a tour guide, the construction site in Baoxin County was also bustling. No matter how big the capital's Xingqing Palace was, it was not as big as a county. There was too little land available, so the model was very small. There was space in Baoxin County, so Zhang Xiaobao asked people to make the model twice the size of the capital. However, it was not so detailed. It was not that it was impossible, but that it could not be done. This was to prevent people from using this as an excuse to attack. If the details were slightly lacking, there would be problems. One was exquisite while the other was crude. First, he had people flatten the ground and smeared it with cement. On the cement, a red carpet was laid. It was not made of wool, but of pig's hair. It was dyed red. Ordinary people would not be able to feel good when they stepped on it. The first model was also a model of Gongji province. The surrounding space was relatively large, and there were many signs with colorful pictures of Gongji province's animals and all kinds of snacks. They were all popular snacks, except for Savant's restaurant and Joy House. There were also a few empty signs. When there was enough publicity, or when people were attracted to watch the model, they would advertise it for the bold businessmen. This kind of advertisement was more powerful than the advertisement in a certain competition. It used the method of promoting culture to directly position the businessmen. People who had seen the snacks or local specialties, when they really came to the capital, if they did not go to the places on the signs to have a meal or buy something, it would not be authentic. Of course, if they wanted to advertise here, the price would not be low. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan believed that many businessmen would rush to spend money. This was because this was not just a simple advertisement. In the future, it might be written in a book and leave a name for eternity. As long as the model in the capital did not collapse, the reputation of the businessman would not be lost. He Yiwei did not understand why there were a few empty signs. He humbly asked, "County Deputy Wang, do you know Registrar Zhang's intention? To advertise, to open a door for the excellent businessmen of the Tang Empire and build the Tang Empire's civilization. At the same time, you can also make some money. You will open a small shop here with the 500 coins. The shop will sell a few snacks in Gongji province. All the businessmen who spend money to advertise will have a chance to have their snacks sent to your shop to sell. They will not sell it for free. You will keep all the money and the businessmen will give you another publicity fee." Wang Wan explained to He Yiwei. He Yiwei very cleverly filtered out the words about building the Tang Empire's civilization. He grasped the most important point, which was to make money. He took other people's things and sold them. "Master, it seems that we have not learned enough." He Yiwei's housekeeper whispered. "That's right. Work harder." He Yiwei finally knew what kind of business he could do with the 500 coins. It was indeed a big business. He could make a lot of money with a small capital. He asked Wang Wan again, "County Deputy Wang, there are still a lot of snacks. Why not make a few more brands? Things are precious when they are rare. If there are too many of them, who will be willing to come and fight for them? First sell the spots of a few brands. In the future, every 10 days or half a month or even longer, take out 2 or 3 more brands. This is called the hungry sales method. You don't need to look at Xiao Bao. I know how to do these little tricks. This is the way it is in the early stage. The future development will be better." Wang Wan was thinking about how to get people to be willing to come and visit. One was to advertise that only the models in the capital and the local area were available. Another was to find famous people to write and draw. It would be better if Li Longji could come and visit. Or they could open a branch of Dei Hospital in the county. "County Deputy Wang, I wonder if I can be included in the follow-up work?" He Yiwei asked expectantly. "No, I am afraid that you can't handle it. The follow-up work is to send people to check all the shops that are advertising. If they do not meet the requirements set by me and Xiao Bao, we will compensate them for the advertising fees and cancel their advertisements. Then we will report to them here. We can help them train their staff, design their stores, and provide them with other support. Every once in a while, we will select their service staff at a certain place and assess them. The same goes for the chefs. Then we will give them a rating based on the same category of things. Those who score high will have their advertising plates enlarged and promoted in other places. Those who score low will be given 3 months to remedy the situation. Do you dare to intervene in this matter? No. Who knows who is behind a certain businessman? But do we need to accept bribes to make money? He knew that he could not handle it. Once you succeed, you don't need to accept bribes. There are many ways to make money. You can think about it first and then compare with it. How could Wang Wan not know what kind of benefits the rule maker would get? Now, the most important thing was to pull in as many people as possible from the aristocratic families. Chapter 687. The 2 young eunuchs were afraid, and the people below were also nervous. They were worried that the hot air balloon would suddenly fall from the sky. If that happened, it would not be as nervous as the death of 2 people, but the failure of the hot air balloon. That was what Li Longji thought. He did not care about the life and death of the 2 eunuchs, but he was afraid that his hope would turn into disappointment. If that happened, he did not know when the next experiment would be. At the same time, if he wanted to go up in the future, the officials would definitely stop him because it was dangerous. The 2 young eunuchs' voices were getting louder and louder. One of them said to the other, "If I fall, then you will be on top of me. Perhaps with me as a cushion, you can still survive." "Don't say that. I don't want to fall. Besides, even if I fall, I won't be able to survive. Turn down the fire and don't throw the sandbags." Official Gao said that the current sandbags are not used to adjust the height. As long as the fire is big enough, the hot air balloon will continue to rise. At the beginning, the bottom of the balloon is fixed by people holding on to it. The sandbags are specially used to escape. If we suddenly fall, then throw all the sandbags down. Perhaps the falling speed will be slower. Also, don't jump out of the basket. There is a cushion specially made by the Zhang family and the Wang family at the bottom of the basket. It can reduce the impact of the fall. How high is it now? The other young eunuch did not allow the first eunuch to speak. He did not want to speak blindly before something happened above. In the end, something bad really happened. The people below had already started to protect Li Longji to prevent anything falling from above from hitting the emperor. The rope was not too thick, but it was very sturdy. There was still a long way to go. The hot air balloon was flying higher and higher. It was estimated that it was now 150 feet high, and it was still flying higher. "Leisure, it seems that the hot air balloon can indeed carry people. Even if something happened this time, it does not mean that the hot air balloon is wrong," Li Longji said to Gao Leisure. He was afraid that if it failed, others would not let him go up in the future. Gao Leisure understood. At the same time, he was willing to listen to Li Longji's explanation. This was because if they failed, Xiaobao and Cuckoo would not have too much responsibility. After all, if they really did fly, they could blame the failure on the people above them for not being good enough. Thus he replied, "Your Majesty, you can't go up immediately. Even if you succeed, you have to wait for a few more tests. Also, the manual says that if you want to go up, you have to be accompanied by someone. There are also 2 people from the Zhang family's Miao Unit 0 who came along with the hot air balloon. They can try their best to ensure your safety." Li Longji nodded. He had someone bring over the clairvoyance and looked up. He really wanted to fly up and take a look himself, but he knew that it was impossible. While they were talking, the hot air balloon had already risen to a height of more than 300 feet. It was impossible to measure the height directly, but the length of the rope was recorded. Every set distance, there was a number written on the rope, letting people know how long it had been. The 2 little eunuchs were no longer as scared as before. Since it was already like this, they might as well accept their fate. When the balloon rose to a certain height, the 2 of them adjusted the size of the fire and also looked down with the clairvoyance. They just happened to meet Li Longji's gaze. When Li Longji saw the people above looking down, he happily waved his hand as a sign of encouragement. This made the 2 little eunuchs extremely excited. They took out the dragon flag from the basket, hung it properly, and waved their hands at the people below. "Your Majesty, it seems like it's a success. As long as they come down safely and fly a few more times, Your Majesty might be able to go up and take a look." However, you have to bring along the 2 people sent by the Zhang family to wait outside the palace. Gao Lishur said happily. Yes, there are still 2 people waiting outside. Let them come in and take a look. After hearing Gao Lishur's words, Li Longji realized that there were still people outside. They were the most powerful guards of the Zhang family, and they came here on behalf of the Zhang family. He couldn't be too negligent, so he hurriedly asked someone to call them. In fact, there was no need for them to come in. At this time, the 2 people outside had already seen it. The hot air balloon was not small and it was flying so high. Not only the 2 of them saw it, but other people who occasionally looked up at the sky also saw it. A big thing was floating above Xingxing Palace. What was it? It looked like a Kongming lantern, but they felt it was very different. The people in the palace were the first to know. As soon as someone said this, others immediately looked up at the sky to see what was flying above Xingxing Palace. The people outside the palace also stopped one after another, wanting to know the reason. Soon, someone reported this matter to the ministers. The ministers also stood outside and looked in the direction of Xingqing Palace. As a result, more and more people came. The people around the palace stopped moving, and the traffic was also blocked. Some people were far away and couldn't see clearly, so they tried their best to squeeze forward. After a while, they found that the thing in the sky was still as big as before, even if they squeezed forward dozens of steps. At this time, Zhang Shua was staying in the secretariat. When he heard someone report, he took out his clairvoyance and stood outside to take a look. This time he saw clearly that it was a big thing with a basket hanging below it. There was a dragon flag flying above the basket, and 2 little eunuchs poked their heads out and waved back and forth. Seeing this scene, Zhang Shua couldn't care less about official business. He hurriedly trotted toward Xingqing Palace. Now he somewhat understood why the emperor insisted on riding a bicycle everywhere. It was too far to walk. If he had a bicycle now, it would be much easier. When Zhang Shua arrived at Xingqing Palace and saw the emperor standing there under protection, he was relieved. He was really worried that the emperor was sitting in the basket just now. Minister Zhang is here? Come here, let's take a look together. Seeing Zhang Shua come over, Li Longji said and waved at him. Zhang Shua didn't look happy like the others. He nervously came to Li Longji and advised, Your Majesty, you can't play with this thing. Who sent it? There are people on it. If it falls, both the people on it and the people on the ground will be in danger. This subject impeaches the person who sent this toy. Zhang Shua made a gesture of protecting Li Longji with a sullen face. It seemed that he was ready to cause trouble. Hearing this, Gao Lishur couldn't take it anymore. It was his son and daughter-in-law who made this thing with great difficulty. How could it be said to be so unbearable? Impeach? Well, it was possible to impeach now. The 2 children were officials. But that was absolutely impossible, so he retorted, Lord Zhang's words are wrong. How is it a toy? This thing is related to life and death. When the army is in formation, it can see the situation below clearly from above. If it can fly to the enemy's head and throw down the grenades that Cuckoo used in battle, Lord Zhang, do you know what the consequences will be? Zhang Shua was stunned by Gao Lishur's question. After thinking about it carefully, he felt that Gao Lishur was right. If this thing flew to the enemy's head, not to mention throwing down a grenade, even throwing a rock could kill them. If one of them flew above the imperial palace and carried a big bag of explosives, it could ignite and throw it down the moment the emperor came out of the hall. What Gao Lishur said was what Zhang Xiaobao wrote in the letter. When something was invented, it was usually used in the military, and the hot air balloon was the same. Li Longji really did not expect this. He was just thinking about going to a higher place to take a good look at the capital. Now that he heard Gao Lishur's words, he took a deep breath and said, No wonder Xiaobao and Cuckoo wanted people to make hot air balloons. It turns out that they are useful in battle. If Cuckoo's army is equipped with dozens of hot air balloons, with grenades on top and light cavalry below, who can beat her? It is already very powerful in the past. Does official Zhang understand? Zhang Shua nodded, indicating that he understood. At the same time, he suppressed the idea of impeaching. He was too anxious just now and did not ask who sent the thing over. Only now did he realize that he had not thought it through. Other than the Zhang family and Wang family, no one else had the ability to make something that could fly people into the sky. Xiaobao and Cuckoo could not be impeached. Besides, now that it was clear that it was not for fun, but to be used in battle it was important and could not be taken lightly. But when he saw the rope below, he realized that something was wrong. He asked again, "Your Majesty, can it really be used in battle? But it still needs to be tied down with a rope. Once there is no rope, who knows where this thing called hot air balloon will fly to? And how will it fly above the enemy?" Li Longji could answer him on this point. He took out the manual and handed it to Zhang Shua, saying, "This thing is not completely finished. There is also a power system that has not been installed. Once it is installed, it will be able to move freely in the sky when the wind is not too strong." Yes, this subject understands. Zhang Shua could not say anything else. Since it was something that the Zhang family and Wang family had researched, they should have thought of this point. Moreover, the research of the two families was done in stages, improving bit by bit. This was brought over to make the emperor happy. "Your Majesty, this thing is too lethal. Should we not allow the Zhang family and Wang family to make it in the future? Let the Ministry of War handle it. There should be people in the Military Weapons Surveillance Bureau who can cooperate." Zhang Shua thought of what had just flashed through his mind. He was afraid that if there was a day when he could not control the Zhang family and Wang family, they would use the hot air balloon to blow up the imperial palace with explosives. That would be troublesome. However, Gao Lishir was not satisfied. He said, "Lord Zhang, if we don't allow the Zhang family and Wang family to make hot air balloons, does that mean that in the future, even if they have better things, they won't have to take them out? If they don't do it, how can they improve it and make it better? Rely on the Ministry of War? Rely on the Military Weapons Surveillance Bureau? If they really had that ability, then today it would not be the Zhang family and Wang family sending hot air balloons." Zhang Shua knew why Gao Lishir refuted him. It was the matter of his son's family, so of course he was not satisfied with him. However, he still persisted and asked, "Then if the two families want to harm your Majesty, official Zhang, you can't say that. If Xiao Bao and Cuckoo wanted to harm me, they would not have taken out the hot air balloon to let me know. If you can't even trust this, then wouldn't Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's determination to kill enemies in Tubo be dampened? To be honest, I have always felt that if they want to harm me, there are many ways they can do it." Li Longji said to Zhang Shua. In his heart he really did think this way. This was because he could not guess what the Zhang family and Wang family would do, especially that poisonous needle on the belt. It was too hidden. If he could not trust anyone, there would be an official who would deal with him when he went to court. The things that the Zhang family and Wang family did were all out in the open. There was no need to hide it. Furthermore, Wang Chaoer's father had protected him in the past. It was impossible for him to do anything to him. In addition, there were people watching over there. If he took too many precautions, who would trust him? The leader of the Jinwu Guards? Gu Fushun of the 10,000 cavalry? And Gao Lishir by his side? If they could not trust him, could it be that he had to do everything by himself? Thinking of this, Li Longji said to Zhang Shua, "When official Zhang came in just now, no one searched him. If official Zhang had something on him, wouldn't I also be worried? This official does not dare. This official is loyal to your Majesty, and will definitely not do such a thing. If your Majesty does not trust this official will die in front of your Majesty." Zhang Shua was frightened. These words could not be said casually. Sweat immediately appeared on his forehead. After saying this, he did not say anything else. He stood to the side and looked at the hot air balloon that was still flying in the sky. He knew that if he said anything else, it would mean that the Zhang family and Wang family were not trustworthy. He was loyal to the emperor, but did that mean that everyone else was not loyal? Gao Lishir also did not say anything at the side. In his heart, he was very dissatisfied with Zhang Shua. Their relationship was not bad, but he actually slandered his son and daughter-in-law. Everyone fell silent. After that, the rope that was pulling the hot air balloon was blown by the wind. The two eunuchs on the balloon had already risen to a height of 50 zhang. Even if they used the all-seeing eye to look down, they could not see as clearly as before. The two of them discussed for a while and took out a bigger dragon flag from the basket. They unfolded it and hung it by the side of the basket. When the flag was blown by the wind, it opened with a whoosh and fluttered in the wind. When the flag was taken out, cheers immediately sounded in the palace. Those outside the palace who could see the pattern on the flag were also very excited. The Great Tang's dragon flag was fluttering high in the sky. Other than the Great Tang, which other country could do this? When the people from other countries saw such a big flag fluttering in the sky, they did not know what to feel. This was especially so for the spies that Tubo had left in the Great Tang. When they saw the flag and the thing that could fly in the sky, they felt that it would be impossible for their country to catch up to the Great Tang in a short time. They were not fools. When they saw the flag that was suddenly hung up, they knew that there was someone on it. However, they could not see the rope and thought that the thing was floating in the sky and could even put people on it. From the information they received from Tubo, it said that Devilish Cuckoo had a weapon that was much more powerful than fireworks and could kill people. If they could throw that kind of weapon down from the sky, how could they fight a war? Li Longji heard the cheers. Even though he was very far away, he could still hear it. He raised his head and looked at the hot air balloon flying in the sky. He sighed and said, "From now on my Great Tang has no worries." Zhang Shuo and Gao Lisher both understood the meaning of this sentence. It did not mean that there would be no worries as long as there was a hot air balloon. It meant that with the existence of the Zhang family and Wang family, the thing was made by them. Ever since they were in Sanshui County, the Zhang family and Wang family had been constantly making things and taking them out. There were things that could be used in the water, things that could be used on weapons, and now there were even things that could fly in the sky. In addition, Xiaobao and Cuckoo, who had learned many of the skills of the experts, were still young and could live for a long time. As long as they were around, there was no need to worry about anything that could not be dealt with. Congratulations, Your Majesty. Gao Lisher was also thinking for the country. He was also loyal to Li Longji. After hearing Li Longji's words, he softly congratulated him. Zhang Shuo also followed suit. Although he was very uncomfortable in his heart, it was not easy for him to reach the position of Prime Minister. He had suppressed all the people that he should suppress and gathered all the power in his hands. However, with the appearance of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he realized that he could not use all the power he had. At least for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan it was impossible. Others had to listen to his orders, but the two of them dared to not listen. There was nothing he could do about them. When it came to military orders, once Wang Wan went out, it could be said that she was a general on the outside and would not listen to orders. He could not say that he was better than Wang Wan because of his experience in the border army. She had used corpses and blood to prove it. When it came to administrative orders, Zhang Xiaobao could also not listen because he was very proficient in economic matters. He could find 10,000 reasons to refute Zhang Shuo. His power was obviously limited. Li Longji did not know what Zhang Shuo was thinking. What he was thinking the most was why he did not leave Xiaobao and Cuckoo in the capital to do things. That way he could see them at any time. Looking at the hot air balloons sent by the two people, eating the food cooked by the two people, and listening to the two people talk, it would definitely feel very good. With regret in his heart, Li Longji did not want to continue watching the hot air balloons fly like that. He said to the people beside him, "Let them come down. Don't use force on the rope first. Let's see if the hot air balloons can slowly descend on their own." The people below immediately began to pass orders to the two eunuchs above. They used a large flag and waved it back and forth so that the two people above could see. At this time, the two eunuchs really did not want to go down immediately. After they found that there was no danger, they enjoyed the feeling of flying in the sky. Using the thousandly vision to see the scenery of the capital and feeling the cool breeze, it was very comfortable. Seeing the flag below, they could only suppress this thought in their hearts. They looked at each other and sighed at the same time. They did not know if they would have a chance to come up in the future. Perhaps this was the only chance in their lives. They lowered the fire bit by bit and felt the slow descent speed. The two eunuchs did their best to look at the surrounding scenery below, so that when they returned to the ground, they could tell others. They could not be ignorant. The overall time used to descend was much less than when they went up. After about a quarter of an hour, the hot air balloons slowly descended. The cloth on top of the hot air balloons directly covered the two eunuchs. How was it up there? After getting the two eunuchs out, Li Longji urgently asked. Replying to Your Majesty, the wind was a little strong up there, but we were happy, especially when the flag was flying. We all felt that this was the happiest moment. Also, it was a little shaky up there, but that was all. At the beginning, the two of us were scared to death, but when we really stayed in the sky for a long time, we found that it was just like that. It was fine, the little eunuch quickly replied. He was so excited that his little face was flushed. After they left, he could tell others. At this time, the two members of Number Zero's protection team walked in from outside. The two of them were dressed in tight clothes and carried 3 big bags in their hands. When they wanted to come in just now, the people outside insisted on seeing what was in the bags. The two of them did not allow anyone to open the bags no matter what. If they opened the bags, it would be difficult to restore them to their original appearance. The bags contained parachutes that were personally sealed by the young master and young lady. After a series of inquiries, and with the assurance of the two of them, as well as Gao Lisher secretly arranging for someone to inform them, the two of them came in. Are the two of you from Number Zero's protection team? Li Longji asked despite knowing the answer. His eyes also looked at the bags in the two of them. Replying to Your Majesty, we are from Number Zero's protection team of the Zhang family. These 3 bags contain parachutes that were personally made and sealed by the young master and young lady. Basically, there is not much of a problem. If Your Majesty wants to go up to the sky, the two of us can follow Your Majesty, but Your Majesty must carry these parachutes on your back first. This time, it was Huzi who came with another person, so Huzi was in charge of handling the matter. When he heard Li Longji's basic question, he answered respectfully. Oh, why didn't you give it to others just now? When Li Longji heard that it was specially made by Xiaobao and Cuckoo, he knew that it was prepared for him. However, he was a little dissatisfied. Your Majesty, you need to train to use this thing. Otherwise, it might not be useful at a critical moment. The two of us didn't come in just now. Otherwise, one of us can carry the other up. Chapter 688. When the Tang exhibition garden in Baoxing County was still under construction, Wang Maozhong sent someone to deliver a message, saying that he would take out 1,000 stallions for the Zhang family and the Wang family to receive. All the civil and military officials in the imperial court who knew about this matter knew that Wang Maozhong had lost the duel. Some people were still rejoicing in his misfortune. They were ready to continue watching the fun, thinking that Wang Maozhong would not give up easily and would fight a big battle with the Zhang and Wang families. As for whether it was on the surface or behind the scenes, no one knew. In any case, they were waiting for Wang Maozhong to make a move. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan heard that Wang Maozhong really gave out the stallions, they felt that it was funny when they inspected the construction site. Little Wang is really too much. He sent someone to poach, but the person he sent messed up. He even went to Little Li and said that he should give us 1,000 stallions. Zhang Xiaobao had a shovel in his hand. When he saw that the road was uneven, he would go and flatten it. After flattening it, he stopped and looked at the busy construction site and said to Wang Wan. Wang Wan found a low place and asked Zhang Xiaobao to flatten it. At the same time, she replied. He said that he would give us 1,000 stallions. It would be good enough if 50 of them are still useful. He knows that we can't go to Li Longji to sue him. How can Li Longji not know the reason? If he goes to the capital to complain, Li Longji will pretend to be stupid and cover up the matter. As for whether he really gave us 1,000 stallions, it's not important anymore. If we write a letter, I think Li Longji will continue to pretend to be stupid. It seems that Wang Maozhong has not lost the emperor's favor. Let's wait. Then let's wait. If the game is good, we have to continue. Unless someone wants to stop playing, we will tell him that if he doesn't play this game, he will have to play a new game with new rules. The new game will not be as fun as it is now. Since he can't give us good stallions, should we also give him some fake information? Let him suffer a big loss? Anyway, with his level, he might not be able to see through it. Zhang Xiaobao was like a coolie. He took some sand from the sand pile beside him and filled up the lower area. He wiped the sweat on his forehead and waved to the people waiting for him to work behind him, indicating that they could continue to pass. Wang Wan waved at He Yiwei, who had just returned from the turtle farm. When He Yiwei came over, she said, County Magistrate He, I need you to do something for me. Good, that's good. What is it? He Yiwei had become very humble and eager to learn. He did not continue to think about how to accept bribes and corruption. He wanted to be a good official. Most importantly, he wanted to keep up with the pace of Zhang family and Wang family. He Yiwei nodded respectfully and looked forward to Wang Wan arranging something good for him. For example, he could learn some knowledge, or gather the people's hearts. County Magistrate, go find Xiao Hong and tell her what I said. Ask her to teach you how to manage the overall management. The construction site is still too messy, and Xiao Bao has no time to talk to you. It's the same to find Xiao Hong. Xiao Hong can manage thousands of domestic animals very well. It's more difficult than managing people directly. Wang Wan had spared no effort in grooming He Yiwei for two reasons. Firstly, he was smart and knew when to pick a side. Secondly, it was to give Li Longji an explanation. Perhaps he could use this reason to become an important official in the future. He Yiwei still nodded respectfully and said, Good, that's good. I will go find Xiao Hong immediately. I have been doing a lot of things recently, and my body is getting better. As he spoke, He Yiwei straightened his chest. His belly was indeed lower, and he was not as fat as before. He meant that he had not been lazy recently and had been very diligent. Wang Wan nodded with a smile and said, Good, you are not too busy now. Do more things and you will know what it's like to be busy in the future. Yes, I will do more. I will do more. He Yiwei nodded and trotted to find Xiao Hong. He understood the meaning of Wang Wan's words. It was very easy now. If he wanted to catch up, he had to continue to work hard. He did not doubt this at all. This was because he saw that when Cherries was arranging the place to raise the tortoise, in order to be able to return to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's side as soon as possible, she was busy but not in chaos. When he asked, Cherry said that this was the real rhythm of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. If the young master and young lady were busy, it would be very difficult. Seeing that He Yiwei did not even bother to put on airs and ran away, Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao, Sometimes, educating a person really gives you a sense of achievement, especially a smart and sensible student like He Yiwei. Cherries and the others are all grown up. Should we ask them if there is anyone in the courtyard that they like? Xiao Hong already has one. Last time I heard that when Xiao Hong was in a daze, she said to herself that she was going to get married next year. She wanted that boy to get a better place to live. She said that when a bird finds a companion, it knows to make a nest first. Her new house in the future can't be too bad. What about Cherries and Sure too? Perhaps it is because they are single that Wang Maozhong has this idea. He really thinks that our family members are the same as his servants. He doesn't treat us as human beings and can be casually traded. Do you think that he will play dirty tricks behind our backs? This was a problem. Zhang Xiaobao had occasionally thought about it recently. The people in his family were getting older and older. In the outside world, people at this age would usually not be able to get married or get married. If a girl from an ordinary family was still not married at this age, she would be laughed at by others. Pomegranate and Cherries were in their own home, so no one would say anything to them. However, it was not a good idea to keep dragging it out. They had to find a good home. After thinking about it, he said, At night, ask them who they like and arrange them to do things together. It is good to cultivate feelings. We can't just randomly choose one of our family members. We don't have to be afraid of older people. Others may not have the ability, but with their age, as long as they say that they want to find a husband, many people will rush to marry them. Of course they are rich. Whoever marries them will not have to worry about the future. Just wait to enjoy life. Moreover, they are not bad-looking and know a lot of things. However, the more they are interested in their money, the more I will not agree. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao had always been in charge of Cherries' money. They did not keep much money for themselves, so they knew how much money they had now. For example, Pomegranate had also written a book about how to grow wood ears and mushrooms, as well as the exploration of fungi. However, it could not be published because the technology was confidential. However, every time she sold wood ears and mushrooms, she had to be given some money. In total, it was a lot. If it was not 3,000 strings of coins, it was at least 2,000 strings of coins. As for her real value, it was not enough even if it was 100 times more. It was not good to give her compensation directly, But when she had children in the future, she could use the compensation on her children. Zhang Xiaobao also agreed with Wang Wan's idea. Then ask around at night. You go and ask around. As for Song Jinggong, I don't know who he likes now. If he is really going to get married, he should be able to tell us. After all, they can't be together secretly. Ernyu is not young anymore. All of them are going to leave. Why would they leave? It's not like they are not in the inner courtyard. Do you think that in a few years we will really have to return Wang Maozhong 5,000 horses? When that time comes, I reckon that it will be impossible to use bad horses to deal with him. Wang Wan was prepared to continue leading a group of people around her. Soldiers made of iron could not be kept as small soldiers just because they were useful. They had to be released. It's still early. We'll talk about it when the time comes. I reckon that Wang Maozhong will not cause trouble for a period of time. The 5 people in his family who have been asked silly will remind him of many things. For example, when he asks, the 5 of them will follow the script we made up and say all kinds of bad things about him. How can he not know that we will have something to use against him? Zhang Xiaobao believed that as long as Wang Maozhong was not stupid, he would know how to choose. He continued, in a few days send a letter to Luoyang. Ask my father to find an excuse to bring more officials from Luoyang to visit and learn. As for the people from Jixian Courtyard, use our identities as Jixian Courtyard members to invite them together. Will they be able to come? Wang Wan was a little uncertain. Listen to me carefully. I'm not asking them to come over to play, I'm asking them to learn. Even the emperor knows about the situation in Jiangyi province. Do you think they dare not cooperate? It's good to go. This is called political learning. Whoever doesn't come is not politically correct. You can't put too much burden on them. Don't some people often do this? Zhang Xiaobao was not worried that people would use this excuse to refuse. This move of yours is too bad. Fine, I agree. If only we could see the entire capital from a high place like we are looking at the model now. The building built by your majesty still doesn't allow us to see much. How could Gao Lisher say anything against it? The model was made by his son, and the cement was also sent over. Of course, it was for the construction of the capital. This batch of cement was also given for free. Ever since the other houses in the palace used cement, many people who wanted to curry favor with the emperor bought cement at a high price. When more cement was used in the construction of the capital, he believed that his son's cement would sell even better. Li Longji was originally very satisfied with the model, and felt that he could directly see the full picture of every place. However, after hearing Gao Lisher's words, he really wanted to see the entire capital from a higher place one day. When he thought of this, he praised Gao Lisher. Xiao Bao of the Lisher family is indeed good. There's also Cuckoo. Why don't we let them think of a way? Maybe they can really do it. In the past, it was good on the 15th day of the first lunar month. Ever since there were ice lanterns and so many Kongming lanterns, it's even better now. Don't you think so? Your Majesty is right. That's exactly the case. As Gao Lisher spoke, he looked in the direction of the door. The matter he brought up today was not just for fun. He had first obtained Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's letters and estimated the time. He knew that something called a hot air balloon would arrive soon. He had even sent someone to ask on horseback. He estimated that it would arrive today. Although his son's letter said that he could not let the emperor go up first, it was still possible to let someone else go up first. There was still hope. How could Li Longji know about this matter? He was still regretting that he could not see the entire capital. He could only continue to focus on the model. He took the documents and compared them as he read them. At the same time, he silently noted them down. When needed, he would show his understanding of Jiangyi province to the officials. Half an hour passed. Just as Li Longji was preparing to rest and Gao Lisher was inwardly anxious, the person Gao Lisher had been waiting for finally appeared at the door. It was a young eunuch. Your Majesty, Lord Gao, something has been sent from Luoyang. Someone has already checked it and said that it was just made. They want your Majesty to evaluate it. The young eunuch respectfully reported. Oh, there's a new plaything? Quickly bring it in for us to see. When Li Longji heard this, his mood became even better. He did not want to rest and wanted to see the things sent by the Zhang family and Wang family. Although the young eunuch did not say who sent it, when Luoyang said it, Li Longji knew that it must be the Zhang family and Wang family. Only they would send all kinds of things to the palace for no reason. Other people usually did not dare to send things like this for fear of causing trouble. However, the Zhang family and Wang family did not care so much. As long as there was something useful, they would have people send it over. Chairs, sofas, and all kinds of furniture. Even that very interesting washing machine was sent over. Currently, many things used in the palace were from the Zhang family and Wang family. As Li Longji gave his orders, he looked at the door with an expectant gaze. He asked Gao Lishir, "What do you think the Zhang family and Wang family will send this time?" Gao Lishir paused for a moment before saying, "This subject can't think of anything, but this subject hopes that it will be something that will make your majesty happy." A few days ago, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo wrote a letter to this subject saying that this subject had just mentioned to your majesty about being able to see the capital from a higher place. However, at that time they said that they were still researching it. Your Majesty, you are here. Just as Gao Lishir was about to say a few more words of flattery, a group of people came in from the entrance. They were carrying something and 3 people were carrying a large basket. When Li Longji saw the things, he did not say anything. He walked closer to take a closer look. After looking for a while, he did not understand. Could it be that this thing could really be like what Gao Lishir said? Or was it not the thing that was sent? A young eunuch came over with a sealed letter in his hand. He held it in front of Gao Lishir with both hands. Gao Lishir carefully examined it and confirmed that no one had opened it. Only then did he carefully open the letter and touch it with his hand. After that, he handed it to Li Longji. When he opened the letter, Li Longji immediately saw the biggest words in the letter: Hot Air Balloon Instruction Manual. He happily said, "Lishir, it's a hot air balloon." It was indeed correct. Good, the instruction manual has been sent. Quickly, let's think about how to run to high places. Currently, Li Longji liked to receive gifts from the Zhang family and Wang family the most. This was because many things could not be used immediately. They needed to be assembled according to the instructions in the instruction manual. Being able to personally assemble a novel thing gave him a great sense of accomplishment. Gao Lishir already knew how to use it. He had even let him operate a small hot air balloon before. He was afraid that something would happen when the big one was sent over. However, he could not say that he knew how to do it. He had to stand on the same starting line as the emperor. Moreover, there were many times when he had to appear a little stupid. He clearly knew how to assemble the hot air balloon, but he still had to show a puzzled expression and wait for the emperor to teach him. Therefore, the 2 of them gathered together to study it while the others stood in place and waited. Although they could not read it together with the emperor and could not compare to Gao Lishir, they were also very happy. Every time the Zhang family and Wang family sent something, they would compete internally to see who would be the one to send it over. This was because the person who sent the hot air balloon would have the opportunity to assemble it together with the others. After they succeeded, they could boast about it to others. For example, the person who assembled the model with them boasted about it for half a month, causing others to be envious. With the instruction manual and Gao Lishir's dozens of experiments, the method to use the hot air balloon was not difficult. Under Li Longji's command, everyone started to get busy. They first connected the very delicate-looking basket, then had someone use a bracket to prop it up. They poured a barrel of very high-concentration alcohol, which was the purest alcohol that could be extracted with current technology, into a special box and ignited it. The fire rushed up in an instant, almost burning the cloth of the hot air balloon. "I asked you to adjust the place that can control the fire, why didn't you listen?" At this time Li Longji spoke. In fact, he did not understand just now. He asked someone to open that thing up very big, which resulted in the current situation. However, he pushed the blame to others. The people who were working hurriedly apologized and took the blame. At this time there was no reason to talk about. They adjusted the switch bit by bit, and the hot air balloon gradually expanded. After about 15 minutes, the hot air balloon was already full, but it still could not fly. It had to be heated up, but now it looked very different from its previous deflated appearance. "It's not done yet?" Li Longji, who was looking forward to it, was a little anxious. Your Majesty, it will probably be done in a while. This subject just does not understand how can this thing fly to a high place. Gao Lisher asked sincerely, what's so difficult about that? The Kongming lantern is so big that it can fly. We think that this hot air balloon is a bigger and better Kongming lantern. Li Longji said complacently. After hearing Your Majesty's words, this subject suddenly understood. Your Majesty, why don't you let someone go up and try it first? Gao Lisher hurriedly flattered. These words were said with a certain level of skill, giving people the feeling that he was not stupid. If he was not stupid, then wouldn't Li Longji be smarter? Li Longji really wanted to be the first to go up, but he was also afraid that it would be dangerous. The manual said that it was absolutely not allowed to let someone go up before the experiment was successful. This meant that the emperor could not go up. Seeing that Li Longji agreed not to go up first, Gao Lisher immediately found 2 eunuchs and taught them how to operate the hot air balloon. When adjusting the fire, they should not be too fast. There was also the problem of the sandbag, so as to avoid accidents caused by their operation and falling from the sky. The 2 eunuchs were both looking forward to it and worried. If it flew high in the sky, wouldn't it fall to their death? However, when the first person went up, they would have something to say to others. After waiting for a while, the hot air balloon was finally able to lift off the ground with the basket below. There were 3 ropes tied to the top, and the other end was pulled by people on the ground. This hot air balloon could not adjust its direction, and there was no moving equipment. Without a rope, it would be blown away by the wind. When the lift was enough, the 2 eunuchs climbed into the basket under the expectant gaze of everyone. They took deep breaths with all their strength. From the trembling of the Weiwei on their bodies, one could see how scared they were. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.